to send. Once your mail's ready, just leave it for your mail carrier, schedule a free package pickup, or drop it off. It's a no-brainer. Right now, listeners get a special offer that includes a 4-week trial, plus free postage and a digital scale with no long-term commitment. Just go to Stamps.com, click on the microphone at the top of the homepage, and type in Fox. That's Stamps.com. Enter Fox. Stamps.com. Enter Fox.
A biker event in Missouri that drew large crowds has some worried about an explosion in cases of COVID-19.
The 14th annual Bike Fest Lake of the Ozarks in Missouri wrapped up Sunday after an estimated 125,000 people attended the 5-day event. Few places in the popular resort area require face coverings, and few people were seen in social media posts wearing them, raising concerns by some that this could become a coronavirus super spreader event. A month after Sturgis, South Dakota hosted a motorcycle rally, one study blamed it for as many as 260,000 cases, something state officials rejected and some other researchers cautioned might be an overestimate. Lillian Wu, Fox News.
Two of the big cruise lines have laid out safety plans to restart business.
Royal Caribbean and Norwegian Cruise Line plan to test passengers for COVID-19 before they get on a ship. As part of 74 safety recommendations the companies are submitting to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention to get.
The Dick Cheney Vice Presidential Library opens in a pitch-dark, sulfurous underground cave. And a seedless watermelon is coming to grips with the fact it'll never be able to have kids. This is the Onion Week in Review. Following a litany of tragedies occurring over the past year, a report this week from scientists at Princeton University confirmed that 90% of the Earth's atmosphere is now made up of thoughts and prayers. Researchers confirmed that with the rise of tragic events occurring all across the world each and every day, the Earth's atmosphere is 7% nitrogen, 3% oxygen, and 90% emotional pleas begging for everything to be okay. In other news, a new study finds nothing that will actually convince you to change your lifestyle, so just forget it. UMass Dartmouth is beginning to regret offering a course in applied domestic terrorism, and a sparrow thinks it might have caught the bird flu after puking seeds all morning. Stay tuned after the video for a brief tear in the fabric of space-time, offering a glimpse at next week's Onion Review. And keep checking theonion.com for more.
This is the Onion News Network.
According to a report released today, the vast majority of American children lack the presence of a strong, sculpted male supermodel, with less than 4% of youngsters being taught the important values of respecting runway etiquette, maintaining a glistening six-pack, and walking a catwalk with verve and flair.
The number of strong-jawed male supermodels in children's lives has declined to record lows, leaving the majority of our youth unaware of how to get comfortable in front of the camera during an underwear shoot, or even perform something as simple as a sexy but stylish full turn.
Stanton went on to say that impoverished communities were especially affected by the lack of Adonis-like male figures, and added that children in lower-class homes were over 80% less likely to grow into the type of high-cheekboned, studly he-men that succeed in haute couture society.
Quite frankly, these children are just not getting the necessary influence of a dynamic male supermodel who can both make puppy dog eyes at the camera and also radiate that sort of raw, unabashed machismo that forces fashionistas to look up and take notice.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. It is the Monday night edition. And our toll-free number is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. And you can call in and talk about, well, whatever you'd like to talk about. We have some things that some of us have brought in for show prep today. We talked about this several Mondays ago, where Mr. Van Morrison, who is the artist, the musician who wrote Brown Eyed Girl from Northern Ireland. He called on fellow artists, that is stars and, rock people and musicians of all different kinds.
Rock people?
Yeah, not scissors people or paper people, rock people, yeah.
Oh, okay, not like the crab people.
Not like crab people. Yeah. He called on, these stars to join with him and protest the lockdowns and the COVID-19 ridiculousness that all the governments have been putting in. So following up with that, he is actually going to release several protest songs against the COVID-19 lockdowns.
Looks like at least 3 of them.
At least 3, and we'll tell you more about that. I have something on him from the Rolling Stone as well as something official from his website. Additionally, from Bitcoin.com, apparently there was some sort of a data dump, data leak, or some sort of perhaps a Wikipedia, or not Wikipedia, what do you call it, WikiLeaks type of thing, where some documents were released implicating 5 major banks for moving trillions of dollars for mobsters, OneCoin, and drug cartels.
I wonder if that includes TD Bank, Bank of America, and Chase Bank, the 3 banks that closed my accounts because I was buying Bitcoin.
We will get to all of the banks, the 5 that are specifically named, the 5 major ones that are specifically named in that data, and also something you brought in, nobody, the CDC, this is from CNBC, the CDC says it erroneously posted guidance that said the coronavirus spreads through the air and travels beyond 6 feet.
Right, which is the whole point. This wrong guidance is the whole point behind the mask. Otherwise, you wouldn't need the mask plus social distancing.
Right. So, again, 855-450-3733, 855-450, free, as in freedom, if you would like to get on the air and talk about any of these things or anything that's on your mind. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Captain.
It's Ian.
And the nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
So, I just wanted to kick things off tonight. I've named the title of the show, Break Up the United States, because I have this article from the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Make America states again.
Pretty much. And now this isn't written by anybody that I'm aware of as a libertarian ilk, or anybody who is anything else than
you don't have
a regular person.
Yeah, you don't have to be a libertarian to support secession. That's what's cool about secession.
Yeah.
The great thing about secession is it means that instead of one group of people getting their way on what America is, 50 groups of people can get their way on what their state is like.
Indeed. And it's an opinion piece by a person named Chuck Bonfig. I may be mispronouncing that. Bonfig, from the Philadelphia Inquirer. The title is America is Over. Let's just split into different countries.
Bravo.
Yeah, I mean, round of applause generously as well.
Who's saying this?
It's
the Philadelphia
Inquirer, Chuck Bonfig.
Okay, is it an editorial?
It is. It's an opinion piece, yeah. And so it starts out, George Washington once wrote, "The establishment of our new government seemed to be the last great experiment for promoting human happiness. Judging by the state of our country today, I wonder if Mr. Washington would like to rephrase that."
Well, some experiments fail.
Oh, yeah.
So it seems reasonable to call it an experiment, and it seems reasonable to call it a failed experiment.
And you got to be able to know when to say this is over, so you don't keep going down the same road.
I think a couple hundred years.
You got to know when to hold them, know when to fold them, know when to walk away, and know when to run.
And I think a couple of hundred years should tell us exactly enough to know that it's probably time to run.
Yeah, run to New Hampshire specifically,
Indeed.
so we can have this happen sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I would be happy to be the pioneers.
In fact, I think that the people who are running for election this year should be talking about secession as an issue, which is one of the reasons why I really am excited about Aria DiMezzo's campaign for sheriff, because she, in the first article that was written about her, I believe the Fox News piece mentioned that she was for secession at the very end of the piece. And if we have more people promoting that, whether it be Darrell W. Perry or Carly Garrick, some of these other great libertarian activists here in New Hampshire, the more we can get the news out about, hey, it's time to do this before the election, because it's important to be able to talk about secession now during Trump. And if there's some crazy chance that Biden wins, you want to still be on the record of having said, hey, we should secede while the other guy was in office.
Absolutely.
And if we don't make it the first time, just keep trying, because if at first you don't secede, try again.
The article continues. The country has gone through many periods of strife in my time here: assassinations, recessions, desegregation, inflation, the gas crisis, Watergate, hanging chads. I don't know what hanging chads is.
That was hanging chads refers to the George Bush, Al Gore election and the Florida recounts.
Oh, okay. The AIDS crisis, 9/11, et cetera, and so on. Maybe it's the 24-hour news cycle or the immediacy of social media now that makes the landscape seem so bleak, but I don't recall us ever being so divided. And by us, he means the United States of America. No one in our country seems happy today. The right is angry. The left is despondent. Our nation reminds me of those married couples who try to stay together for the children, but end up making everyone around them super miserable. Yeah. And it really does. I mean, I still don't understand what a Democrat is or what a Republican is.
I don't think they can explain it to you.
I don't fully understand. Like, I can't define somebody who's on the left versus the right unless they claim it themselves, right? If they say, I'm on the left, then, okay, I know they're on the left.
Let me give it to you very simply. Democrats are people who want to force their will on everybody at gunpoint. And Republicans are people who want to force their will on everybody at gunpoint.
I think you've summed it up nicely.
I hope I cleared that up.
I appreciate that. So maybe it's time for a breakup. Yes, I know a few southern states tried this before, and it did not turn out too well. I'm thinking about something, a little less bloody, like a Brexit, for example.
Yeah.
Now, here on this program, we've talked about Brexit as a thing. And
the only problem is it isn't a thing yet. It still hasn't happened.
Yeah. Right. I actually have a Facebook page called U.S. Exit to go along with the NH Exit Facebook page.
Yeah.
But 50-state secession, man. Just walk away.
Yeah, and it doesn't seem like it would be too difficult to apply it to something like New Hampshire, right? It's a small state. It doesn't have a huge geographic footprint. It would be probably less difficult, I would think, at least politically, than, we always hear about. I always heard about growing up that Texas is the only state in the union that can secede officially or something like that.
Well,
nonsense.
I mean, it could be difficult if the United States federal government decides to, let's say, blockade militarily the port and borders of New Hampshire.
Right.
That could be tricky.
Yeah, the question is, how do they blockade our Canadian border? It would have to be cooperative between the U.S. and Canada.
Yeah.
Yep, agreed.
Although, but still, Canada generally does what it's told.
Still, though, it would make life difficult if 3/4 of the borders were completely locked down by the U.S. military. But the odds that they're going to be able to muster that kind of force when they're spread all across the entire planet seems a little less likely.
I think they could muster enough force to shut down the one border for us, but then again, I'm expecting other people to try to go as well.
There's Vermont, there's Maine, and there's the international border.
Right, so there's a border to the north.
Well, that's two borders. Because Vermont and Maine, both borders on the United States.
But it's three sides of a state, though. That's
right, yeah, that's true. 855-450-3733 if you want to weigh in on whether or not the United States should just break up. We've got more coming up. Free Talk Live.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Despite years of warnings about cryptocurrency, criminals prefer U.S. dollars for money laundering, study shows. Jim Rogers predicts end of U.S. dollar dominance. Macro strategist Raul Paul says Bitcoin beats gold in every way. New crypto, sushi, plummets around rumors of exit scam. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Do you want more businesses accepting Bitcoin Cash and Dash? Now with AnyPay, you earn passive income for every purchase at those businesses. Finally, a financial incentive to spread Bitcoin Cash and Dash. You made it happen, so you get the rewards. Download the AnyPay Cash Register app and add your cryptocurrency wallet addresses. Then install it at a real-life business and tell us what you did at anypayinc.com. anypayinc.com.
Hey guys, Mark Claire here, lionsofliberty.com, where we strive to advance the ideas of liberty daily. We bring you the Morning Roar. That's right, every Monday to Friday we'll have a brand new edition of the Morning Roar, where we provide a roundup of some news stories that you may not find in the mainstream media or even in your typical social media newsfeed. We find stories that relate to the ideas of liberty and provide you with our liberty perspective on them. Every Monday, we have our longest-running feature, Mondays with Murray, named after the great libertarian Murray Rothbard, where we'll examine an article or an excerpt from his works and help convey his view, along with our little spin as well. We wrap it all up every Friday with Felony Friday, where our own John Odermatt goes out and takes a look at some sort of felony. There's felonies committed every day, you know, whether it's a felony committed by the police, a politician, or even an average citizen. You can find all of this and so much more over at lionsofliberty.com. Advancing the ideas of liberty daily.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
What's up next? Visit the Liberty Radio Network program guide to find out at shows.lrn.fm. That's shows.lrn.fm.
Yes, welcome back, everybody. Welcome back to the Monday night edition of Free Talk Live. We are here 7 days a week doing this show from 7 p.m. until 10 p.m. Eastern Time. Please adjust accordingly for your own schedule wherever you may be listening. And we do this show from the perspective of freedom, generally speaking. At least that's my perspective. I try to always think about these topics and what we're talking about from that perspective. How does it affect freedom? Is it about freedom? How do we get more freedom? And, well, what's preventing us from being as free as we possibly can? And that's what I try to bring to the table. Our toll-free number here, of course, is 855-450-3733. If you would like to call in and talk about anything that we're discussing, anything that we've discussed previously, or anything you would like to bring up that we haven't discussed yet. It is called Free Talk Live for that reason.
I like those calls the best.
Yeah.
Just tell me something I haven't heard before.
Yeah, or give me a perspective that's new, or, I might have missed something in the news that's happening that's...
I've definitely missed something in the news. You can always tell me something I've missed in the news. I work all day on stuff that's not the news.
It is difficult to keep up. Well, because there is so much... I don't want to use the term fake news, because your mainstream media news to me, is literally just propaganda.
Of course it is.
Of
course. There's very little real journalism left out there.
That seems to be the case. And it seems to me that the big 3 or 4, right? ABC, NBC, CBS, and Fox.
Yeah.
And then you've got like CNN and, those kinds of organizations, which are all kind of owned by like the same 6 companies. Anyway, it seems like they dominate the airwaves. And, I did see a meme.
Well, you have to have choke points if you're going to control the news effectively. It would be much more expensive for the government to control the news if they didn't first herd all of the licenses they issue into 6 corporations.
Well, you don't need a license for television news as far as if it's not broadcast.
You need a license for a television station.
Sure, but I was going to say that you don't need it if you want to just create a cable channel. You don't have to, per se, get a license for that in the same way, at least that you would for broadcast TV. And almost no one watches broadcast over the air anyway these days.
Regular ass TV.
But they have a big starting
but they've
point.
Still got the choke point because the cable company itself is a choke point.
Yes, that's true.
And they're heavily licensed and heavily
nonetheless,
that
though, if you
industry
walk
is
down
completely manipulated.
Well, I mean, yes and no. I mean, it's certainly owned by Time Warner or Comcast or these big cable, mega companies. But you can still
all
walk
of which exist only because of government privilege in their current form.
But that said, you can still walk down there with a few $1,000 a month and rent your own channel
until you say something controversial, and then they'll shut you off.
Well, probably, but they probably want the money too. I mean, honestly, cable companies these days are having a tough time. They're having people cut the cord by large numbers. More and more people are just saying, you know what, who needs cable television anymore? It doesn't make sense in this day and age with people, they want on-demand programming. They don't want to wait for the linear time frame of, okay, it's 8 p.m., sit down for TGIF or, whatever we did 20 or 30 years ago. It doesn't happen like that as much anymore. So they're losing money. The number of subscribers here in little old Keene, New Hampshire, to the local cable company, which is now what was Time Warner, is now Spectrum. They have been going down over the years.
How far do you think the price would need to go down before it was worth grabbing a channel for Keene and just throwing LRN.FM over it? That would be an interesting.
It'd have to go way, way down.
Yeah, I would agree.
You're only talking about reaching.
But
speaking of
these media companies, I like good memes. I hate bad memes. What I really hate most about memes is when there's a really good meme, but there's something misspelled on it or otherwise grammatically incorrect. And
because a meme is a terrible thing to waste.
It is.
Yeah,
I was like, how do you kill a perfectly good meme? Anyway, there's a meme floating around I thought was particularly attractive to me, and it was somebody from China had said, I don't understand why Americans watch so much television news. And somebody said, well, why is that? And they're like, well, because in China, everybody knows that the news is just propaganda from the government.
Because it is.
Because it is.
There's no veil over it there. But, in the United States, I don't think a lot of people do watch the television news. So he was only commenting on the small segment of the population that does watch it. Most of them have no idea what's going on.
I think way more people watch the news than you do, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, I don't think you're right about that. I think a lot of people want to get away from news. They want to get away from issues. They want to get away from having to take a position or think about how they are believing about things. They'd much rather watch a fictional television show or much rather listen to music radio. That's why news talk radio, for instance, is only about 5% of any.
But if they're watching any kind of broadcast, whether it's cable or over the air or whatever, and it's got some commercials in it, so them commercials are going to be tonight at 6:00. Blah 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 blah.
For it, but that doesn't mean they're going to watch it.
And then also because people, are busy, they work and, they have lives to lead and all that kind of stuff. They would like to get their information in a short period of time. And of course, the news caters to that. With their half-hour broadcast.
Not short enough, man. Half hour is too long for today's busy people. I don't know. I firmly disagree with you on this.
I don't know
Perhaps it's an age group thing, right? Perhaps because I'm 48 years old and I got a decade on you or something,
almost
thereabouts. So perhaps it's really just a generational thing, right? Because
that's a factor.
I'm older than the internet, so of course I myself watched a whole bunch of news before I sort of came out of the fog of statism.
When's the last time you watched a half-hour long
internet?
Wait, I'm sorry, what?
You're not older than the internet.
Well,
You're
okay.
older than
I'm older than the internet being commercially
for
available.
Decades before it became public.
I'm older than the AOL free CDs that came in the mail.
When's the last time you watched a full half-hour-long newscast?
Gotta be 10 years or more.
Mm-hmm. You're not convincing me here, then.
You know? Well, but I'm me, right? I'm like, I'm one of the rare ones that has sort of come out of the fog of statism.
How many times were you hanging out with your buddies from the bands that you were playing with, and they were watching the news?
All the time.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, particularly at
this
the
was more than a
hours
decade.
I used to keep CNN on all the time.
You're a news junkie, right? So I'm not looking to get what y'all's opinions are about the news as much as the people who don't watch this stuff, which I'm telling you is like probably the super majority of people.
Interesting.
I mean, look at the ratings for News Talk Radio. Now, look, you also have to factor in NPR, but still, you're not talking about a large chunk of the population here. And if you look at the news channels like the CNNs and the MSNBCs and the Fox Newses, as people are dying off, their numbers are going down. As
people die off, their numbers will always go down.
The numbers of the viewers of the news are going down. They being the news corporations, their numbers are going down as their audience is literally dying off and not being replaced by younger people.
Right.
Newspapers are going out of business left and right, and it's been accelerated by
absolutely
the COVID crackdown.
Yeah, newspapers are dead. I mean, as far as I'm concerned, there's a few of them that survive because that's the only thing that they do. But definitely a dying industry.
As Mark Twain said, if you don't read the papers, you're uninformed, and if you do, you're misinformed.
We'll take your calls and your thoughts here on Free Talk Live. We've got more for you coming right up.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org. Free Talk Live is aired on nearly 200 radio stations throughout the week, and we've been doing this for almost 18 years. You can call in any evening from 7 p.m. to 10 p.m. Eastern to talk about whatever's on your mind. Sure, you can waste your time on Facebook and reach dozens of surly posters, or you can call in with your issue and reach 3 surly hosts. Oh, and nearly 500,000 weekly listeners. The number is 1-855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm.
Live video of our key New Hampshire-based shows is streamed on DLive. Please follow and share at dlive.lrn.fm. That's dlive.lrn.fm.
Free Talk Live. You know how all the major brands, they always have some sort of, 3-note jingle. By Menon, or whatever, that kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
I was just trying to do one of those for Free Talk Live. My voice is a little scratchy. I was gathered with many people yesterday, and there was music playing, and we were, carousing and carrying on and having fun. And so I'm a little extra brocaw today because, well, when you have loud music and you're talking to people, you tend to yell at them a little bit, and stretches the old vocal cord. So I can do a much better, low voice today than I normally can.
You're here with the captain.
Captain Kickass is in the studio and joining me today.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
We've been talking about this article from the Philadelphia Inquirer, which basically says, break up the United States.
But before you go on with that, Captain,
finally,
you and I were both looking for information about the news.
We were, but before you go on with that,
okay.
Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or just meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. That's local.bitcoin.com.
And the stack, and it's Ian.
And yes, Ian, as you were saying.
Well, you had found when we were searching for local news ratings, over time, over the last decade, you found that all television broadcast
is on the decline.
Is on the decline.
Over the air style and cable style.
Right. And according to journalism.org, in 2018, viewership for local affiliate news stations, ABC, CBS, Fox, NBC, declined in their key time slots of morning news, evening news, and late night news. All three on the decline. However, this year, COVID seems to have turned that around somewhat, and they have seen a boost.
COVID or the government shutdowns?
Well, right. The fact that people are in. So yes, the government shut down.
So imprisonment.
Yeah. But people may have
without trial or crime or charge.
But many people may have imprisoned themselves, regardless.
Imprisonment by fear.
Well, let's go to your calls and your thoughts. We have Robert from Vermont calling. Robert, you're on Free Talk Live.
Thank you for taking my call.
Yeah, I'd call it a dead cat bounce before we go on.
So, yes, I think the United States should be able to break up if it wants to.
Oh, of course.
Yes, of course.
I kind of feel like I've asked you guys this question before, but it was said at one point that the state of Vermont had seceded from the Union.
No.
For a short period of time.
Mm-mm.
But it was never clarified to me whether this actually happened or not.
No, it didn't.
It did.
I'm pretty sure it didn't. That's certainly not in recent years. No, there was at one time a 12% belief that we should secede in Vermont, and that was during W. I don't know if they've been polled during Trump.
Okay. The time that I had learned that they had successfully seceded was in the middle of the 1700s, but it was only for a 6-year span, and then for some odd reason they went back.
Well, the middle of the 1700s would be right around 1750, and the Constitution was signed in 1789, so perhaps they seceded from the British Empire.
Maybe you're thinking of the Vermont Republic, which was used to describe Vermont from the year 1777 to 1791, where in January of 1777, delegates from 28 towns met and declared independence from the jurisdictions and land claims of the British colony of Quebec and from the U.S. states of New Hampshire and New York. So maybe that's what you were thinking of, Robert?
Vermont seceded from New Hampshire? Wow. And New York.
Okay, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Go ahead. I couldn't.
I was going to say that if, in fact, that they had successfully seceded in one way or another, how was it done?
Well, we all successfully seceded from the British Empire, and it was done through the Revolutionary War.
Right, but I mean, there must be some kind of documentation there somewhere.
It's called the Declaration of Independence, and I quote it regularly.
I think what Robert is looking for is, can we use the past as an example of how to secede today?
Absolutely, absolutely. And the place to start would be to sign a new Declaration of Independence.
Totally agree with that. And I don't think that you should ask permission to do this either. Usually when you talk about secession, the media typically refers to the process as the following. Well, first, California needs to get, they get 600,000 signatures. That'll get it on the ballot.
You've got to fill out some forms.
And then once it gets on the ballot, if it gets voted in favor of, then the California legislature has to, to vote to move in favor of this. Then the United States federal government has to vote to allow you to leave. And I don't think that we should care about the last part.
Okay, I would agree. I think there does have to be some kind of decision. I mean, if you, me, and the captain decided to just secede New Hampshire from the Union, that would hardly be fair because there's 1.5 million people here.
Yeah, I don't think anyone was talking about that.
They don't all agree with us. But so we do have to have permission, if you will, at the state level. But we don't need permission from the federal government to walk away.
Yeah, you'd run a ballot question here in New Hampshire, which you can't technically do without approval of the state government, or not state government, but the state legislature.
You can have a plebiscite
so
that goes through. You wouldn't have to go through the state government.
No, what you have to do is you go through the state legislature, and then they put something on the ballot.
You wouldn't have to go through the state legislature either. Say the legislature was hopelessly corrupt. Oh, that could never happen. Have you looked lately? Say the legislature was hopelessly corrupt. Well, then the people could certainly set up a vote. We could create an intercoin.
Well, it's going to be hard to get that to be seen as having legitimacy, but the typical way would be to have the state representatives put forth what's called a concurrent resolution, I think, and then that can go on to the ballot for where it would then need like a 2/3, I think, majority to pass.
The problem is that since we don't know whether the votes cast have any relationship to the outcome of the election.
Well, you never really know.
Yeah, so it may be impossible to use the the system of representative democracy in order to get anything done, because if the elections are rigged, and they certainly seem to be, well, if
you have enough popular support, you don't really need a vote. You can just stop participating.
Right. That was what I was about to say. Like, if you just have enough people going, we've had enough, we're done. Yeah. You literally just declare your independence, and then you are independent.
It would be hard to know without
there's no bureaucracy necessary to be independent. You just say, okay, from now on we are, and then you have to be able to back it up.
Well, what the bureaucracy would be required for, or at least a strong voluntary militia, would be, how do we fight off the United States government if and when they decide to come and kill us?
Right. Robert, anything else?
Hey, it was a great conversation. guys have a good evening.
Thanks.
All right, thanks
Peace.
for the call tonight, Robert. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of like myself, right? I always say I want you to be the captain of yourself. I'm the captain of myself. I think everybody should be the captain of themselves.
No matter how great this gate, how charged with punishment this scroll, I am the master of the fate, and I the captain of my soul.
Indeed. Very nice. Very eloquent.
Thank you. It's called Invictus.
I like it. So I just decided one day that I am the highest authority of myself. I am the correct person to make all of the decisions for me, and I don't need anybody else to make them for me, right? In the same way, you could get a whole community full of people to realize that, hey, we can do this as a community too, and then just declare that you are independent from the rest of these a-holes who think that they are a ruler over you. 855-450, free like freedom. We've got more Free Talk Live for you coming up.
With a MECTEC carbine conversion unit, you can turn an XD family Glock or 1911 handgun into a carbine rifle in seconds and have it shipped right to your door, no FFL required. Now, MECTEC is excited to announce our pistol carbine conversion unit. More compact with a 12-inch barrel and an arm brace, proving once again that MECTEC is the world's most versatile handgun accessory. For a limited time, go to handgunconversions.com. That's handgunconversions.com and use coupon code RADIO to receive $35 off any carbine purchase.
Are you ready for what's next? It's likely coming. More food shortages, power outages, grocery stores closed, social unrest. Ask yourself, do you have enough food and supplies on hand to last at least 30 days? Most Americans do not, but you can. Avoid the panic of the last-minute rush. Order your 4-week supply of emergency food today from mypatriotsupply.com. Starvation or dependency on the government are your only alternatives. Avoid those and the pain of being unprepared. Go to mypatriotsupply.com right now. Build your emergency food supply with meals that last up to 25 years in storage, shipped discreetly to your door. Folks that know what's coming are using today to prepare. There's time for you to do the same. That's mypatriotsupply.com, the original Patriot Preparedness Company. mypatriotsupply.com.
Are you afraid to go to the mailbox because of letter after letter from the IRS? Are they stacking on more and more penalties and interest? By now, you know the problem won't go away on its own. Don't let the IRS chase you to your grave with penalties and interest and liens and levies. You need real help now. I'm Dan Pilla. I wrote the book on tax debt settlement, and I help thousands of people solve tax problems they thought couldn't be solved. I can help you too. Call 800-34-NO-TAX or go to my website, danpilla.com. That's danpilla.com. danpilla.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market. Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com. Do you have a WordPress website running WooCommerce and want to accept cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin SV? Now you can easily enable crypto payments from your customers by adding the AnyPay plugin to your WordPress site. Just visit anypayinc.com and set up your account by entering your cryptocurrency wallet addresses in the admin. Then enable the AnyPay plugin in your WooCommerce. That's it. Now your website takes crypto like Bitcoin thanks to anypayinc.com. AnyPayInc.com.
You're listening to the best liberty-oriented audio streamed around the clock, on the air, and online. This is the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Welcome back, everybody. It's the Monday night edition of your favorite radio call-in talk show program. This is Free Talk Live. I am your host this evening, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me in the studio, it's
Ian.
And Nobody.
Nobody, you wanted to give us a little more of that Invictus. I found it,
okay,
applicable.
Groovy.
Who wrote Invictus?
Say what?
Who wrote Invictus?
Invictus was written by William Ernest Hensley.
Is this a book?
Or Henley.
Or book of
it's
poetry?
actually just one poem, and I've been told, although I haven't researched it, that it was like the only poem he ever published.
Huh.
But this is Invictus by William Ernest Henley. Out of the night that covers me, black as the pit from pole to pole, I thank whatever gods may be for my unconquerable soul. In the fell clutch of circumstance, I have not winced nor cried aloud. Under the bludgeonings of chance, my head is bloodied, but unbowed. Beyond this place of wrath and tears looms but the horror of the shade, and yet the menace of the years finds and shall find me unafraid. It matters not how strait the gate, how charged with punishment the scroll. I am the master of my fate. I am the captain of my soul.
I love it.
Oh, that's nice.
I love it. That is great.
Yeah, it's my favorite poem in the world.
I might have to incorporate some of that into, some of the captainisms.
Sounds like song lyrics to me.
It does.
It could be made into a song I could easily.
Probably pretty easily make that into
I can see a heavy metal version because
total metal
the
song.
word Invictus means unconquered.
Nice. Even better.
Yeah.
Even better. So we had been talking about this article from the Philadelphia Inquirer. It is an opinion piece, an editorial. And the headline is, America is over. Let's just split into different countries.
Yes! Finally, somebody can observe the obvious.
I read through this article before the show, and I kind of had that similar reaction. I was like, and this is from like a non-libertarian, source. It's just a guy at a newspaper that is like, hey, I've observed these things, and this might not be such a bad idea.
And if even the journalists know it's going on, it's going on.
Indeed.
Yeah.
And so the article continues, America had a nice run. And he uses the term we, so I'm just going to read it, as it's written. But he says, we won 2 world wars. We gave the world the automobile, nuclear power, the internet, and put men on the moon.
How drunk were we last night?
I don't remember us, crawling through, Verdun or anything.
Yeah, but if you're drunk enough to do that, you wouldn't, would you?
But now it may just be time to admit that our country has jumped the shark. We used to be the beacon of freedom for the world. Now we are the ones with children in cages, paramilitary on the streets of our cities, and being monitored by Amnesty International.
And she didn't even get to having the largest having the largest segment of our population imprisoned of any country on earth
ever, of all time, in all of history.
Yeah, and now I will note that we unlike China, we don't part our prisoners out. In which case you can no longer count them as a prisoner because, they've been reused for spare parts. But still, it's pretty insane.
Yeah, more than any of the Russian gulags ever had. And
wow.
Yeah, it's really frightening that more people aren't aware of that fact about what the prison population actually is in the United States.
And they don't understand why we need AR-15s. This is why we need AR-15s.
The article continues, we used to oversee other countries' elections. Now they want to monitor ours. We used to be the place people ran to for safety. Now we are the pariahs of the world. Our passports unable to take us almost anywhere.
I saw a comedian on video the other night say, he was talking to somebody who said, "Oh yeah, it seems like the rest of the world hates us now." And he says, "Oh yes, we do. We even have a flag for it." He said, "What does it look like?" "Well, just like yours, but on fire."
Yeah, we are the baddies.
We're becoming that way in perception. And
the
thing is, it's not we.
Well,
it's not me. It is, and it's not just Trump either, and it's not just the Republicans. It is the Democrats and the Republicans who have not only formed parties that are completely evil in just about everything they do, but they've joined into an alliance and rigged the system to make it impossible for anybody to compete.
Absolutely.
And that's enough reason to hang the DNC and the RNC by their necks until dead.
The article continues, honestly, would breaking up the United States really be such a bad thing? California could stand alone. They're already the 5th largest economy in the world. So could Texas, Florida, and New York. We've seen as the federal coronavirus response failed, states already breaking out into groups for survival.
You don't have to be large just to stand alone. I know everybody's always like, yeah, California will be fine. What about those little states? Well, there's plenty of micronations around the world, so size doesn't matter here.
Well, and the other thing is size does matter in that a small state would not be a big target, but nobody would be able to nuke New Hampshire without also nuking the United States and Canada, who would probably take that as an insult of some sort.
I hope.
Presuming the United States continues to exist.
Right. And the author here continues, this could be the beginning of something that finally makes us happy. His apparent opinion is that all of this divisiveness makes people unhappy, which I agree with.
And it's almost a no-brainer to me that it won't make all of us happy. But if one state ends up being a happy state, well, we're 2% better off than we were before.
Agreed. Our current situation leaves us with a feeling of futility as the ground constantly changes beneath our feet. George W. Bush did not like the Kyoto Protocol and pulled us out. Barack Obama believes in climate change and supported the Paris Accord. Donald Trump does not, and he pulls us out.
Yeah.
Joe Biden will make us reverse course and support it again. The next Republican most likely will pull us back out again.
I'm going to go out on a limb and predict that Joe Biden will do no such thing, because Joe Biden doesn't even know where he is or what he's doing.
Regardless, the point is actually really good here that this guy's making. And in fact, it reminds me of a point that was made by the state representative here in Keene who started as a Democrat but became a libertarian. He was 20 years old, turned 21 while he was in office. And he joined the Libertarian Party. This was at the same year when there were actually two others. There were two other young Republicans who flipped. Anyway, it was interesting hearing him explain why he became a libertarian as somebody who's coming from the left, because a lot of times you see, former Republicans joining the Libertarians. And this was it's very similar to one of the points he made, which is if you care about helping people, right? Like a lot of the people on the left, they want to help people. They just erroneously believe that the government system is the way to help.
Legitimate way, right?
It's the way to help people. So, and the point that he was making was, well, when you rely on the government to help people, whatever we're talking about, whether it's welfare or, saving the environment as some people want, etc., you're relying on this political football to stay in the hands of this one party forever. And of course, it never works out that way. It's always, something that people are fighting over, and there's always this switchback in the power. It goes up and it goes down, and you can never have consistency. Whereas with a privately funded organization, you can have consistency, and if you don't have it, you can fund a different organization.
Right? Yeah, and that's why they bothered to commandeer two parties instead of just commandeering one and having one party rule. Is the two party, the two sides of the two heads of the party snake give you a place to go back and forth without changing anything.
You've never really changed, yeah.
Whereas any party that will change anything, well, they're not part of the club, and they will, in order to compete, they have to score 15% on a poll that doesn't even offer them as an option.
Yeah. Yeah, and of course, you can't hold any of these people to any of their promises or
you
even
can with a gun, but not with by any other means.
Right. They're also, not incentivized to do what they claim they're going to do. So if I contract with a company to provide a service of any kind and they do a bad job, right, I have some recourse, right? I can choose not to do business with them again and find somebody who will provide the service at a better rate or whatever. With government, you don't have the choice. Ain't got no.
Yeah. Well, they're basically, a government it's just a corporation. But it's the mother of all corporations in that it's the only corporation that can create corporations.
Right.
And it's also the only corporation that claims the ability to force you at gunpoint to buy a product that you don't want.
Or didn't ask for.
And it's the only corporation that answers only to itself.
That is a matter of fact. 855-450-3733. Are you tired of the United States? Do you want them to break up? More Free Talk Live coming up.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be a part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for people to use it for everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that is as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
He has a list of names. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. President Trump now in Ohio holding the first of 2 campaign events with less than 50 days until Election Day. Before he left, he was again asked about the timeline for filling the seat on the Supreme Court left by the death of Justice Ruth Bader Ginsburg.
5 women are being looked at and vetted very carefully. 5. And we'll make a decision probably Saturday, but Friday or Saturday.
Senate Democratic leader Chuck Schumer spoke of the magnitude of the next pick.
A vacancy that could determine the future of the Supreme Court for generations and make rulings that touch every aspect of American life.
He and other Democrats, including Democratic presidential nominee Joe Biden, are calling for the next nominee to be put on hold until after the election. A federal judge in New York ruling any mail connected to the November election must be prioritized.
District Judge Victor Marrero says as much as it can, the post office must treat election mail as priority express or first-class mail. His opinion said this is what was done in the 2018 midterms, adding that it seemed to him the vital mission of postal workers is being slowed by what he called managerial failures. In addition, the judge declared that all overtime requested between October 26th and November 6th shall be pre-approved. After a court injunction that several states sought to reverse a leave mail behind policy, a Postal Service spokesman said that agency was exploring legal options. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
In Wisconsin, a federal judge has ruled that absentee ballots in that battleground state can be counted up to 6 days after the election on November 3rd, as long as they are postmarked by Election Day. Prosecutors in Florida said they won't appeal a court ruling throwing out recordings of Patriots owner Robert Kraft allegedly paying for sex acts in a massage parlor. America's listening to Fox News.
For over 20 years, millions of customers have trusted Blinds.com to update their homes. Because Blinds.com makes it easy to get custom blinds that'll give your windows a high-end look without the high-end price. Whether you like to do it yourself, need help with design, or prefer measure and install services, they keep it simple with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. New window treatments are a simple way to really benefit the look and feel of your home. And Blinds.com will guide you every step of the way with free online design help. And if you're nervous about trying them, don't be. Blinds.com has over 30,000 5-star customer reviews, and they guarantee the perfect fit for your windows, whether you do it yourself or have them measure and install everything for you. Go to Blinds.com now to take advantage of this week's special savings on interior blinds, shades, shutters, and even outdoor shades. Rules and restrictions may apply.
Some New York City public school students were back in class today after a few delays due to concerns over COVID-19. Programs for 3-year-olds, pre-K, and some special needs schools were in session. Mayor Bill de Blasio with a message for parents.
Every parent, we need you to do this. This is something we're requiring of every parent. Check your child's temperature in the morning. If they have unusually high temperature, please keep them home. Let's make sure they get well. But by doing that, we're going to help everything keep moving forward for everybody.
More schools will open next week, with middle and high schools, the last to open on October 1st. A top advisory committee to the U.S. Census Bureau urging the agency to allow the count to continue through October instead of ending it at the end of this month, warning that a shorter timeline may lead to an inaccurate count. The Census Scientific Advisory Committee recommendation comes as federal judges are expected to hear arguments this week in 2 lawsuits from civil rights groups and others who are suing to extend the time people can respond to the census. The census
email is easy, instant, and free, and that can be real embarrassing. Email lacks the eye contact and body language you get in face-to-face conversation, or the tone of voice and other nuance you hear in a telephone conversation. Email is just words, often few words. We're all smothering in spam, so we often reply in terse fashion that's easy to misunderstand. And email doesn't cost you a postage stamp, and it lacks the deliberation time it'd take to walk to the snail mail box. So it's easy to succumb to the "oh yeah" stimulus response trap. When in doubt, don't snap back at snippy messages you get. You may have mistaken the sender's intent. And unless you're sending AOL to AOL, there's no unsend. For more tips on critical communication skills for the way things are now, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The producers of Sesame Street have responded to the controversy over the recent New Yorker cover that showed Bert and Ernie as a gay couple celebrating the repeal of DOMA. Sesame Workshop released a statement today saying, quote, "We have never viewed Bert and Ernie as a gay couple, but as 2 friends who will do absolutely anything to get their rocks off. These pansexual perverts cannot be categorized in your narrow gay, straight, or bisexual paradigm. They're into some pretty sick shit." On their website, PBS released a long list of the duo's strange sexual fetishes, which range from shoving ice into their anuses so that they can cold water into women's mouths, to castrating stray dogs and then masturbating onto the animals' bleeding wounds. Although they're flattered that fans have turned the characters into gay icons, the producers explained that calling them gay would be inaccurate. Quote, "They will literally f*** anything that moves." The producers also added that Oscar the Grouch is neither male nor female, and that its trash can is designed to hide a lower body that is just a Lovecraftian monstrosity of hundreds of interlocking penises and vaginas.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
The toll-free number here at Free Talk Live is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. And we've been talking tonight about this article from the Philadelphia Inquirer. Is it possible that the way to achieve freedom, and in this particular author's opinion, happiness, or at least be more happy than, we, referring to the United States in this article, to break up the United States and just become ununited states, I guess.
Every time you say that, I want to put on the song from The Wall called Run Like Hell.
I do love me some Pink Floyd. And so we'll continue to talk about that. We'll also take some of your calls and thoughts. We have some other topics queued up as well that we can get to.
Don't take my thoughts.
And of course, next thing you know, they'll take your thoughts away. And of course, we'll take your calls and thoughts. With you in the studio tonight, it is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass.
And it's Ian.
And nobody.
And speaking of your calls and thoughts, we'll go to those in just a minute. But from mid-March to mid-July, Divvy, the new easy-to-use cryptocurrency that we've been promoting here on Free Talk Live, increased in value by over 10 times. It's pretty exciting. Nothing is stopping Divvy from increasing exponentially again, and in fact, that is their goal. Divvy's price jumped 10 times in correlation with the release of their beta wallet. Will Divvy go up further when their wallet is fully released? I don't know. But at Free Talk Live, we're happy with our decision to hook up with Divvy a year ago. You can go to divvyproject.org and begin earning Divvy by starting a masternode or staking Divvy. They have a lottery for people who stake the coin too. Opportunity is knocked every day here on Free Talk Live since last September. Will you answer? divvyproject.org. That's DIVI project.org.
And
Okay.
is that Masterlink thing something you can do now? Like, it's good to go, you can fire up the software and do it?
The master node, you mean?
I believe so.
I personally haven't gone through the process myself, but I intend to. I've just, it's not on the front burner this particular week.
If
But,
only there was a
Mark
website in which you could go to find out more about how to do that.
Well, what I wanted to say was Mark and family were able to do it on their own, and they are not technically adept folks generally. So I would say yes, it's probably pretty easy.
Well, the answer then to my question has to be yes, because Mark has trouble doing the things that can be done, much
That's what I'm
less
saying.
the things that can't.
I just can't speak to it personally. That's all.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
But it can be done
By a Mark. Or at least in this case,
if it can be done
his
by
wife.
Mark, it can be done by any
in this
reasonably
case, his
skilled
wife. I should say his
person.
wife. I should say his wife. Probably not fair to say Mark.
Okay, then I withdraw my comment.
Yeah.
And let's just go ahead and go to your calls and thoughts. Let's talk to Tom from Hudson, New Hampshire. Tom, you're on Free Talk Live.
It's about the Black Lives Matter people. And by the way, if any of them are listening now, don't forget that tomorrow you can download the whole segment from freetalklive.com if you want to share it with the Black Lives Matter people that you are affiliated with.
Okay, now just before you go on, when you say Black Lives Matter people, can you tell me what you mean by that?
People who are members of the Black Lives Matter movement, people who are active in the movement, whatever you call it.
So you're talking about the movement as opposed to the Marxist corporation that runs the website.
I'm not really sure. I'm talking about the people that go protesting in the streets and the people who were protesting when Rand Paul and his wife had to pretty much run for their lives because the protesters were trying to swarm around them, screaming, say her name, like Breonna Taylor, without even looking at the fact that U.S. Senator Rand Paul authored the Justice for Breonna Taylor Act. And so now,
also note that Rand Paul, for one, thought that those were not legitimate Black Lives Matter protesters, but that they had actually been paid and bussed in.
Quite possibly, but what I'm getting at here is when they go out and do stuff, keep in mind, if they're furious because white people or the people or, did not go and elect candidates who would be tougher on police brutality. If that's who they're directing their message at is the rest of us, what's the big idea and here's what you get for electing candidates who are soft on police brutality. We're going to riot. We're going to beat you up. We're going to loot and torture stuff because you elected candidates who are soft on police brutality. What have they done to quiz the candidates about police brutality?
It doesn't matter what you say to these candidates. They're going to shuck and they're going to jive, and they're never going to give you a straight answer.
Yeah, I mean, candidates lie. In politics, nobody tells the truth.
Except me. Anyway.
Sure. Are you a politician, Tom?
I've heard some nonsense fall out of you, bro.
I was there.
What do you hold? What position do you hold in politics?
I ran for United States Senator against Jeanne Shaheen in the Democratic primary, and I was there when nobody was filing for governor, and he didn't have the $100 on him, so Ian slipped him $100 on June 3rd, on the morning of the first day of the filing period.
Okay, I'm sorry. I thought, Tom, that you currently held some sort of political office.
Thanks,
Is that
Ian,
not true?
by the way.
Now, by the way,
how did you do against Jeanne Shaheen, Tom? What was the total?
Only got 2% of the vote.
And how many other candidates were there?
There were two other. There was Jeanne Shaheen, who got 94%, and there was some dentist from Keene, New Hampshire. And I mean, who would vote for somebody that lives in Keene, New Hampshire? I don't know. But anyway,
mad bastards. They're all Keeniacs.
It's the funniest thing he's said in a long time.
It really is.
The reason that they go out and they do all this, they should not be doing all this rioting and attacking.
Well, I don't know if there's any evidence that the Black Lives Matter supporters are the ones doing the rioting. I mean, maybe there's some people out there who claim to be Black Lives Matter, but I suspect a lot of them are against it. From what I've seen, certainly here in New Hampshire, there was no sign or no smoke whatsoever of any kind of violence.
What I'm being told is there's three factions to it. That you have basically the politicals. Or the political group, and that's the corporation that runs the website. You have the protesters on the grassroots, and remember, they're being driven out by news reports of somebody being killed. So they're not necessarily Marxist or unified on anything politically except not wanting to be shot and not wanting their family shot.
Right.
Then there are like the agents provocateurs,
the cops, the other people that want to come in there and just start a problem,
and also these people screaming groups, these groups of people that go out and scream. The interesting thing about those is every time I've seen one of the groups that go out and scream at people, they will be like all white with one black guy or two black guys. So it's not Black Lives Matter. It's like a piece of Antifa.
Now, let me point out that if they do rioting and looting and stuff like that, people who do that, first of all, it's wrong because the persons upon whom you're doing this did not murder George Floyd. They didn't do anything wrong, so it's wrong to attack them for it. And secondly, you can suffer the consequences. You can get hurt by, the owner shooting you, and then you're useless to the movement. And also, you could wind up doing a whole lot of years in prison for.
Rioting and looting in particular are just really, forms of an expression, right? It's like, ooh, free stuff. And where do we see that in politics, right? Who wants free stuff?
Now, it's not just that. The riot is also the language of the unheard, as Martin Luther King said.
Let me also point out that rioting is wrong because it's exactly the kind of thing that makes people say, oh, thank God the police are here. What would we ever do without the police? And let's face it, the only reason that they're out there rioting is because they're too pusillanimous, too cowardly to go out and kill cops.
Actually, that's not why, I think. And first off, let me come back to the right. Oh, I'll have to hit this on the next segment.
Speaking of come back,
there are reasons that these things play out the way they do. And we can keep the fruitcake if you want.
No.
Thanks for the call tonight. He actually hung up already. So 855-450-3733 is our toll-free number. If you'd like to comment on any of this conversation, give us a call. We got more Free Talk Live for you coming up.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Despite years of warnings about cryptocurrency, criminals prefer U.S. dollars for money laundering, study shows. Jim Rogers predicts end of U.S. dollar dominance. Macro strategist Raul Paul says Bitcoin beats gold in every way. New crypto, sushi, plummets around rumors of exit scam. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, and all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Free Talk Live.
When you speak of the federal government, I can tell you a few things about it because I survived 34 years of it before I retired 2 years ago.
Ew.
And
Sorry to hear about
maintained
that.
my sanity.
Congratulations. Who did you work for?
I worked for the Department of Defense. It's a criminal enterprise from top to bottom. There was unethical behavior going on there. There were people doing criminal things. I mean, outright larceny, graft. I could just go on.
Yeah, and that's just your bureaucracy. It's the same way everywhere else in every other government department.
And I tell you, this is a microcosm. If it's that way where I was, you know the entire federal government's that way from the very top to the very bottom.
When we talk to former police officers, they've told us that usually
I did that too for 7 years out there.
They've told us that in their experience, usually the worst rise up through the ranks. Would you say that's accurate from your experience?
Absolutely.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Do you love Twitter? Make sure you favorite the LRN.FM Twitter account so you can receive our tweets at twitter.lrn.fm. That's twitter.lrn.fm.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live, the live call-in talk radio program that you can take control of and talk about, well, anything you'd like to. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. With you in the studio tonight, it is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
We've been talking about this opinion piece from the Philadelphia Inquirer.
Could we come back? I wanted to respond to the last caller a little bit, and I didn't have time at the end of the last segment.
Indeed. Can you recap what the caller said in your response?
Absolutely. Well, what he said, taking out the repetitions, is more or less it's a bad idea for protests to turn into riots or arson, and that's absolutely true, or looting. And I think it helps. I've been reaching out to people in and around the Black Lives Matter movement, and I've been doing it. I started doing this actually the night of Kenosha Kyle's Wild Ride, and it just happened that night that I started arguing with people, and that I had expected not to be able to reach them, and I found that I could reach them, and I was surprised, and I said, okay, let's do this more. So I've been talking to many people. I've been forming actually a group of people that are somewhat aligned with them, and so I know a little bit, I think, about what some of the people involved are thinking, much as I hate to talk about what other people are thinking. So I'm not speaking for anybody but myself, but I'm speaking of my observations for other people. Mm-hmm. The biggest misconception that I've found in the BLM community is that if white people wanted to make the violence stop, they could. And that all of a sudden, that is just adding that to your thinking or your imagining of what somebody else would think. That's a big change. I mean, why did the United States bomb civilians in Dresden? Why did they nuke civilians in Nagasaki and in Hiroshima? Well, the answer is because those people had a government, failed to keep it under control. And so it's a way of saying to the population, control your government, keep it off my lawn. Now, the unfortunate thing is it usually happens in cases where people are completely incapable of controlling their governments because the government is out of control. But I understand to some extent the rage that would come from looking back on 400 years of oppression and in many cases seeing that black folks were singled out for oppression. And even if we were a completely colorblind society, it would be unreasonable to expect people within one generation of the kind of oppression that was going on in the 60s when I was born. It would be unreasonable to expect them to trust the system because the system has not been trustworthy. So and that's why what you get is riot instead of political action. Also, the fact that political action
doesn't work. I mean, that's why you get riots, is because the political system doesn't function. What's the old statement that first you go to the ballot box and then you go to the cartridge box or something like that?
Well, there are three ways to change: the soap box, which means to stand up on a box and speak; the ballot box, and the cartridge box. Yeah. And that is, I believe, it was Frederick Douglass,
a slave.
Yeah, he was a slave who escaped from his so-called owner.
Right, you're not going to vote yourself out of that.
Yeah, and he wrote a wonderful letter back to that guy where he said, among other things, "When I left you, I took only what belonged to me and in no way reduced your means of making an honest living." But the other thing that's going on is that there are always, if you have a huge demonstration and people out in the streets, that will also attract every random troublemaker who can get there. And they're not necessarily there because they care about the issue you're protesting. Right. They're there because they like chaos. And there also seem to be people who are sent in specifically to burn. And to burn things. And a lot of this, I think, comes down to the Marxists who control Black Lives Matter Incorporated, because their concern doesn't seem to be primarily helping black folks so much as it is ushering Marxism into the United States. And if you listen to G. Edward Griffin in 1969, he gave a speech where he talked about when the communist revolution came, that one of the things that we would see is massive fires being set all over the United States, which dovetails interestingly with the fires that are going on the West Coast, where a lot of skeevy crackers are getting busted setting fires there for no apparent reason, but it seems like no apparent reason until you hear it predicted in 1969. So there are different people out there. And if there's one misconception on the other side, because I've also been working with militiamen and trying to introduce Black Lives Matter people to militia people, the biggest conception that you see on the militia side is because there's a Marxist corporation that takes the name Black Lives Matter, that everybody who's out in the street for Black Lives Matter must be loyal to that organization or loyal to Marxism. That is absolutely not my excuse. Most of the black folks I've talked to about this do not want rioting.
I believe that most folks don't want, the rioting and the looting. It seems, it happens, at least in my experience, it seems that it's just mob mentality takes over, right?
Yes. That's a big part of it.
That many people all riled up for, whatever reason, whatever cause, mob mentality takes over, and then the violence ensues. Yeah. Because humans are, barely, more intelligent than the rest of the species on the planet.
Yeah. And there's also a lot of media goading of Black Lives Matter. Under normal circumstances, the media always covers up police brutality. And even now, the media does cover up police brutality when the victims are not black, quite frequently. But it highlights any story of police brutality where the victim is black, and I think there's a reason for that. And one of the reasons for the looting is I think they're trying to set up a confrontation between the black community and the militia community.
All the more reason to me for secession. Let's break it down into smaller units and make it more manageable for everyone. We've got more Free Talk Live coming up.
Moose is the German Shepherd, now 11, and he's been an amazing dog. Moose is so active and so alert and hasn't had any kind of health problems at all. He has a beautiful coat, and at 11, he'll still run and chase the ball. He has been on Dynavite since he's a puppy.
Dynavite for life.
Because if they're getting all their vitamins, micronutrients, microbials from the beginning, then you're not going to run into the problems associated with the grass, pollen, dust, dirt, fleas, ticks, you name it, and the itching and shedding down the road.
DINOVITE.com. We tell anybody that has a dog, if there was something that you could do right from the beginning so that you don't have expensive veterinary bills, why would you not do it? Get the Dynavite.
You won't believe how happy your dog will be.
I get my Dynavite from DINOVITE.com.
Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm.
If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to mymagicmud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. mymagicmud.com, FTL20.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
I've been told no in many different ways.
I give you an order and you're going to obey it.
George, you can go this way. You can't do that and you have to leave here.
You cannot bring signs into the rally.
Walk with me. Well, I'm comfortable here, actually. Whoa. Hey. Who do you think you are? Excuse me.
There is no video and audio allowed in this office.
No, I have work today.
You ain't going to make it.
Wait a minute.
Whoa.
Hey! Oh my God! Unbelievable! Why are you running from me? Because you're scared me. What am I being detained for?
You're being served.
What is this?
You're being served.
What is this? Bureaucrats have a funny way of telling people no.
That's the sound of the men working on the chain.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com.
You can put the Liberty Radio Network on the air in your area. Visit broadcast.lrn.fm to learn how. Broadcast.lrn.fm.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live, the live Monday night edition. Welcome back to the show, everybody. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. We'll get into your calls and your thoughts in just a bit. With you in the studio tonight, it is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass.
Yeah, it's Ian.
And that mad bastard nobody.
You are mad, and you are a bastard.
It's true.
But you're not angry mad. You're just sort of, out there, aloof mad.
Mad call I it, for what is it to divine true madness, but to be simply mad?
Excellent illustration. Intercoin, just as the Internet is a global network that connects local networks, Intercoin is a global currency platform that enables communities around the world to issue and manage their own currency to circulate among their local population. Intercoin enables fintech innovation on the local community level, leading to stronger communities, greater sustainability, less poverty, and more productivity. Intercoin is attempting to regain some of our freedoms that are threatened on the internet and in meat space. We think that's important here on Free Talk Live. So important that Free Talk Live accepted $40,000 worth of Intercoin tokens from Intercoin Inc. in exchange for advertising. If you think freedom is important too, check out Intercoin at intercoin.org. You can invest in this project and potentially make big gains, or just be involved and perhaps shape its future. That's intercoin.org.
And if you've ever scuba dived, you know how important fintech can be.
Fintech. Nice play on words. Self-contained underwater breathing apparatus, for those who don't know that scuba is actually an acronym.
This is true.
That's one of those things I never forgot once I learned that. I'm like, oh, it's self-contained underwater breathing apparatus. Wow.
Yeah, I still don't know what Bearcat stands for.
Is that an acronym too?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't know
Ballistic.
Oh, wow.
Engineered. armored something utility truck.
I am or was a certified scuba diver, and I could never remember what the acronym was.
The Acronymicon is the evil book of acronyms, so perhaps you can look it up there.
There's also the Cryptonomicon, where they that's actually
but you have to decode it first.
Book, Cryptonomicon. If check it out if you like sci-fi.
You have to decode it first.
Well, it's served decrypted.
All right, let's go to your calls and your thoughts. We have Nicholas calling from Chattanooga, Tennessee. Looks like he's listening on 102.3. Nicholas, you're on Free Talk Live.
On the neck of time.
Nicholas?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
Hey, pretty good.
Awesome. Yeah, just I kind of wanted to talk about how in today's current events, a lot of people don't really have a voice because having the wrong opinion can basically lead to the end of potentially like your way of making a living or losing your job and kind of things along those lines, and what your guys' opinion on that is.
It is certainly a risk. I know, having worked for many different companies over the course of my life, you have to tread carefully in the office, as it were, because you don't want to say something that is in opposition to what somebody else might feel, or otherwise might be construed as what we call an HR moment. You can indeed get fired just for something that you say, in the workplace. Maybe it's controversial, maybe it opposes whatever the majority of the people who work at that company believe. It is definitely a risk. So when you do start speaking out, that is a risk that you have to take. I myself take that risk every day, just being here and doing this on the radio, much less doing anything else, in that way, shape, or form. Fortunately for me, because I position myself as a comedian, which I am, I do funny stuff over at captainkickass.com, but also as a musician, most people just kind of, wash it out. Oh, he's an artist kind of a thing, right? Or he's eccentric. And so that's kind of my position on it.
And it's a big problem. I think it's one of the reasons that I oppose things like anti-discrimination laws, even though I oppose discrimination. It's one of the reasons that I oppose affirmative action, and partially it's because it keeps racism hermetically sealed within an individual. They can't spit out their ideas and be refuted, okay? Because as soon as they speak, they have to be shouted down immediately, and that's what the left has been trained to do in the universities, which used to be places for free academic inquiry. And now they're trained that if anybody disagrees with you, just scream like a banshee until they go away. Don't let them be heard. Don't give them a platform. Whereas, I'll interview a Nazi. I'll interview a commie. If there's a commie out there who wants to be interviewed, get in touch with me at electnobody.com, nobody at electnobody.com, and maybe I'll interview you if you're, if you're worth it. And also, I guess I'll say, in regards to what I was saying earlier, that I'm reaching out both to black anti-police brutality activists, to boogie boys, to militiamen, to please get in touch with me. Again, it's nobody at electnobody.com, and I would like to get some of the different players in this drama together, talking to each other directly in a situation where they can say anything, and let's get this stuff cleared up a little bit. Communication solves a lot of problems. Yep. And the motivating force behind the militia movement is absolutely not hatred of black people, and the motivating force behind Black Lives Matter is absolutely not hatred of white people.
Your thoughts, Nicholas?
Right. Yeah, so going back to like affirmative action and kind of this whole like modern day, monstrosity of political correctness and whatnot, it seems like affirmative action in itself is kind of racist. You know, it's kind of like you're looking at a group of people and saying that they need it's kind of like dehumanizing, right? You know, it's like they need, sorry, let me get, my dogs are going crazy. It's like they need a helping hand in order to be successful when, that's completely not the case, because there's no difference between, a white man, an Asian man, or a black man. It's more of a nature versus nurture kind of thing. We're not born genetically different than anyone else. It's kind of like your environment, but, people, they want to be treated equally. But a lot of times, they're for having affirmative action. And like in California, I think they're trying to pass laws that say, you have to have, this many women, this many people of color, whatnot, this many minorities, which,
it's one of those things where it's the government trying to solve a problem it has no business trying to solve.
And a problem that it created.
Yeah.
Exactly. So the private sector will sort itself out. If you're the best person for the job, and, you have the qualifications, then the employer will definitely see that. I don't think, I'm a little bit younger. I'm 26, and I don't think that we live in the world that, your boss is going to look at your resume and you're going to, if you're a black person, well, I'm not going to hire him because he's a black person. If anything, nowadays, you might get the leading edge. If you're a black female and you go against a person that's equally qualified, a lot of big corporate jobs nowadays, especially out west, maybe not more, down here in the South or the East or whatnot, will probably give it to you just to be more diverse. And I don't have any proof to back that up, but that's, what kind of the general consensus is.
There are companies that have policies like that, whether they're...
and it's required by the government in a lot of cases.
In a lot of contractors' cases, for sure.
Right. And I had a buddy of mine, he was in charge of hiring at a kind of a rock quarry around here. And I think that was one of their things, is they had to hire, so many, minorities or women or whatnot. And so he went out and just basically hired a completely unqualified person because he was so pissed off about the whole thing. He's like, well, if you want me to go out.
Thank you for the call tonight, Nicholas. We do appreciate it. We've got more Free Talk Live coming up.
Attention radio listeners, if you're concerned about the coming chaos after the November elections, this will be an extremely important message. Here's why. No matter what the outcome in November, catastrophic social upheaval is a very real possibility. Here's why this is important. Listen, we all know that silver and gold have been historic hedges against the uncertain waves of social chaos and unstable currencies. But did you know that there's been times in the past, during times of extreme hardship, when Americans put another store of value above even silver and gold? It's true, open pollinated seeds have been and could very well be the ultimate store of value in the coming hard times ahead. Go to survivalseedbank.com to get heirloom seeds below wholesale. Visit survivalseedbank.com this week and get hundreds of dollars in free bonuses. Beat the coming chaos, beat rising food prices, but above all, don't wait. Beat the crowds by claiming your own Survival Seed Bank today.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
Extendovite really works. Here are some reviews from Amazon.com. Nikki, great product. Have to try it for a few months to see results. After taking Extendovite for about 6 months, I have noticed improvement on the numbness of my hands and wrists from carpal tunnel. I will continue to buy the product. Ken Peaks, 5 out of 5 stars. Works as advertised. This formula is very powerful. Be careful to follow directions. I am feeling much better. My heart rate and blood pressure has stabilized and my lower edema has reduced. Lower leg pain due to blood clots has disappeared. Thank you. To order, call 1-877-928-8822. That's 1-877-928-8822. Or visit our website at heartdrop.com.
Extend your life with Extendovite.
On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was
kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer-term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
Help get LRN.FM into more ears. Visit promote.lrn.fm for a free bumper sticker, flyers, banners, graphics, and more. Promote.lrn.fm.
Yeah. He said yeah. So I said yeah. Monkey see, monkey do. Just like politicians.
Yeah.
Indeed. I learned it from watching you. Yes, it is Free Talk Live, the Monday night edition, the live call-in talk radio program where you can take control of the airwaves and talk about whatever you want. Again, 855-450-3733 if you'd like to call in. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
And I wanted to ask our listeners, do you have a WordPress website running WooCommerce and you want to accept cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin Dash, Bitcoin Cash, and Bitcoin SV? Well, if you do, now you can easily enable crypto payments from your customers by adding the AnyPay plugin to your WordPress site. It only takes a moment. Really, I've seen this, in action. I think, Ian, you've witnessed it as well. It doesn't take very long at all. Just visit anypayinc.com and set up your account by entering your crypto wallet addresses in the admin, and then enable the AnyPay plugin in your WooCommerce. That's it. Now your website takes cryptocurrency thanks to anypayinc.com. That's anypayinc.com. I think that's a fantastic innovation. I really do.
Yeah.
Yep. Big step.
And WooCommerce doesn't need any crystals to run.
No crystals necessary.
Wow, is that an old radio joke?
Huh? That's
crystals?
A woo joke.
Oh, okay. WooCommerce. Gotcha. I got radio on the brain right now. Sorry.
Before we continue, you had mentioned something about names of politicians at some point during one of the previous segments, and I noticed today on my way to the studio that not only is there somebody named Khan running for some sort of thing, but there's also
the state senate.
The state senate, but there's also somebody running for like treasurer or something named Weed. WEED.
Neither of them are any good.
And I was like, wow, so we've got weed and con.
It's bad weed.
Yeah, and con men.
Yeah.
Con men.
But this is
K-H-A-N,
not C-O-N.
That's why you yelled
He's
it.
still a con man.
Yeah. Star Trek. What's a Star Trek?
It is a Star Trek. Yes. All right, so we had been talking in the previous segment about many things surrounding Black Lives Matter, the movement, the organization, that type of thing, and nobody, you brought in a piece tonight that you wanted to have a go at, so let's do that now.
Yeah. And the piece is entitled Armed in Black, How a Group of Men Carrying Guns Say That They Are Seeking Racial Justice.
Where's this from?
This comes from news.yahoo.com.
All right.
Okay. Ramil Taylor, a member of the Minnesota Freedom Fighters, at a meet and greet event in Minneapolis. And I just read the caption of a photograph. Sorry about that. Before he drove to the grocery store parking lot, Ramil Taylor did the same thing he's done every day this summer. He holstered his 9mm handgun to the waistband of his gym shorts until he could feel it hug his right hip. When he arrived at the store in North Minneapolis, he spotted 6 other black men, some in tactical gear, armed with Glock 23s and Smith & Wesson M&Ps.
Sweet. So you can open carry in Minnesota?
Apparently.
I believe so, yes.
One of them beamed when he spotted Taylor and hugged him. Bro, good to see you, Taylor said, muffled through a face mask. They had come to... Well, I mean, you have a right, whatever your opinion is. They had come together for a meet and greet to introduce themselves to the community, marking one of the first public gathering of the Minnesota Freedom Fighters, which apparently is the name of their militia.
I don't see how you can introduce yourself if your face is covered up. Like,
everybody sounds like Kenny from South Park.
But, people, everybody's, there's a lot of room for disagreement on science, so I expect other people to, if not believe my opinion, at least respect it, so I respect theirs
I like
too.
that the name of this group isn't specific to a race.
Yeah, it is freedom fighters,
right.
Which is the whole reason for the Second Amendment is freedom.
Right, it alludes to me that they would welcome anybody.
Yeah. And it's this is an important issue to me. A lot of the reason is my experience getting pulled over in front of my house in South Carolina, and the officer took my gun and returned it at the end of the interview. And one of my neighbors, who happened to be black, I was in a 98% black neighborhood, said the next morning, "Are you a cop?" And I said, no. And she said, "Why did that cop give you your gun back?" And I said, well, because I'm not a felon and it's legal for me to own it, because I wasn't then. I am now. And the thing that I discovered through that is that there were police who were actually taking legally owned firearms from black folks.
Sure, I believe it. Yeah.
And nobody was telling them they had the right to keep and bear.
Right.
So anyway, back to the article. The ad hoc group of about 24 men, including a retired firefighter, a healthcare worker, and a veteran, formed in the days after George Floyd's killing in response to the local NAACP chapter putting out a call for residents in predominantly black North Minneapolis to protect small business from destruction as fires and unrest engulfed the city. And yeah, I mean, for me, it would be small business. I'm not going to go risk my life to save AutoZone.
Right.
Let's see. Heeding
this
the call.
This is a great thing to do, and this is exactly what the other militia folks have been doing as well, which is to protect local businesses.
But the difference is, and this is why you have to understand what the media has been doing. The media has been painting any white man with a gun as a racist.
Right. And they can't do the same thing with these guys.
They can't do the same thing with these guys, but that's also, I think, why Kenosha Kyle was attacked in the first place. They saw a white man with a gun, and they said, "Oh my God, it's the KKK." When a white man with a gun may be there to defend you. I was speaking to Boogie Boys a couple days ago who say they have been going out with Black Lives Matter. They're on good terms with Black Lives Matter, and they've been protecting the protesters, among other things, from actual racists. So just remember that if you see the color of somebody's skin and conclude that he's racist, that is itself racist.
Yeah. Well, and there's a lot of talk right now, in the news and in society in general about racism, and that's great to bring attention to it. I firmly believe that one of the most effective ways to help end racism is by everybody being armed.
Yes, absolutely.
Everybody.
I think so too, and that's why I've got this thrust. The second part of my master plan is to find militia units for black folks who want to take place in protecting or take part in protecting their community, so that A, they have backup, B, a mixed race group is less likely to be shot by police, I think. And C, a mixed race group is less likely to fall victim to what happened to Kenosha Kyle. So basically, if in that case, hopefully both sides will recognize you as, or will at least say, I don't know how to categorize this yet. I'm going to find out what it is before I start throwing bullets at it.
Right.
So going on. Heeding the call, the men who would meet at a local cafe stood watch outside small businesses for several nights in late May and early June. More recently, they have patrolled neighborhoods offering security to protesters, and they have been in regular communication with city officials about protests they plan to attend. And if you're in a militia and you're going out to a Black Lives Matter event, please let them know when you get there that you're there to help them, and you're not there to be a threat to them. But also know that it's almost impossible to spread that information throughout a large protest. It's important to have men from the community step up for the community, said Sasha Cotton, director of the city's Office of Violence Prevention. It's their right to be out in the streets, and is commendable. There are Black residents who in the early days of the unrest felt vulnerable, and still do. And
so wait, the city government spokesperson was commending this?
Yeah, and it's funny because imagine if it had been a bunch of white guys out there, they would be, what are they doing up there looking for trouble?
Yeah, normally if the police are commenting on this, they'll usually say, we don't need any vigilantes in the streets. We're here to take care of this.
Well, that's something that's changing these days. I mean,
but that wasn't a
Detroit. It wasn't a cop, but we have had the Detroit police chief say, well, we can't seem to defend you in Detroit, so you might want to get a gun.
Yeah, he admitted defeat, basically.
Yes, he admitted defeat, and Detroit Threat Management is a great offshoot of that, too.
Threat Management Center?
Threat Management Center, yes,
I think
that's right.
It is. Which is a great example of a marketplace security force.
Exactly.
Yes.
That's the perfect agorism. They can replace the police when the police are gone.
855-450 free if you want to weigh in on this. We've got more Free Talk Live for you coming up.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had gotten involved sooner? Well, now is your chance to be part of the next revolution in money. Intercoin is working to finally make crypto go mainstream. It's designed to be scalable enough to support everyday payments and even elections without the state. Bitcoin was originally supposed to be a peer-to-peer cash system, the way we would all pay one another without having to trust any third party. But instead, over time, it mostly became a store of value. That's because every 10 minutes, the Bitcoin network must put all transactions into a block, and that block can only hold so much. If crypto is to become mainstream, for everyone to use it in everyday payments, we need a new architecture, one that's as secure as Bitcoin while being far more scalable. Check out intercoin.org to find out more, and maybe pick up some of those coins for yourself.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Another change in guidelines. I'm Lisa Lacera, Fox News. The CDC posted new suggestions for people to follow to keep from getting COVID-19, but then reversed course.
They said the main way that this virus spreads is by aerosols. Those are tiny droplets that can linger in the air for hours. Today, they removed that posting, saying it was a draft posted in error.
Fox's Steve Harrigan. Some doctors have said 6 feet is not enough distance to keep the virus from spreading. This is the U.S. nears 200,000 deaths from the virus, according to Johns Hopkins University. Both President Trump and Democratic nominee Joe Biden in battleground states today. The president in Ohio.
Put simply, if Biden wins, China wins. If we win, Ohio wins. And most importantly, in all fairness, America wins.
Biden in Wisconsin.
Due to Donald Trump's lies and incompetence in the past 6 months, have seen one of the gravest losses of American life in history.
There are less than 50 days until Election Day. Preparations underway in Louisville, Kentucky for possible protests when the state attorney general issues a ruling in the Breonna Taylor case.
Louisville police leadership has declared a state of emergency because of the impending decision from State Attorney General Daniel Cameron. He's deciding whether the 3 officers who carried out the no-knock warrant drug raid on Breonna Taylor's apartment should be charged in her death. Cameron has not said when he'll make the announcement, but federal buildings in Louisville have already been closed and locked down. Taylor died in March after being shot multiple times during the raid. 1 officer was fired. The city last week settled the civil suit, paying Taylor's family $12 million. Gernal Scott, Fox News.
Tropical storm Beta is nearing the Texas coast. The National Hurricane Center says areas already waterlogged from previous storms could see as much as 15 inches of rain. America is listening to Fox News.
For over 20 years, millions of customers have trusted Blinds.com to update their homes. Because Blinds.com makes it easy to get custom blinds that'll give your windows a high-end look without the high-end price. Whether you like to do it yourself, need help with design, or prefer measure and install services, they keep it simple with easy online ordering and free shipping right to your door. New window treatments are a simple way to really benefit the look and feel of your home. And Blinds.com will guide you every step of the way with free online design help. And if you're nervous about trying them, don't be. Blinds.com has over 30,000 5-star customer reviews, and they guarantee the perfect fit for your windows, whether you do it yourself or have them measure and install everything for you. Go to Blinds.com now to take advantage of this week's special savings on interior blinds, shades, shutters, and even outdoor shades. Rules and restrictions may apply.
A manhunt after one person is shot outside a gun show in Ohio.
It's not clear if the shooting victim or suspect were affiliated with or attended the gun show inside the Westland Mall building in Columbus, as the Franklin County Sheriff's Office continues looking for the suspect, who we're told opened fire around 4 p.m. Sunday in the former mall's parking lot. The victim's identity also withheld pending family notification. Investigators are now in the process of gathering surveillance video and speaking to witnesses. Jeff Manasso, Fox News.
Attorney General William Barr says the Justice Department is sending more than $100 million in grants to target human trafficking. It'll be used for task forces, victim services, and victim housing. Last month, $35 million in grants was designated for organizations that provide safe housing for trafficking victims. Another company that people had leaned on during the pandemic is adding jobs.
Convenience store chain 7-Eleven is recruiting 20,000 workers for its more than 9,000
LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. As our contract with our satellite provider is coming up for another 3-year renewal, I have to consider calling it quits. It's rare that we get feedback or support from our satellite users. We started a fundraiser a few years ago, and though there are a bunch of great contributors to it, as of this recording, it covers 15% of our monthly satellite costs. Please email lrn@lrn.fm and tell me how you use the satellite feed. Better yet, chip in at fund.lrn.fm. The costs aren't the issue. We can afford them, but why continue something not valued by the market? Want to help? You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. Fund.lrn.fm.
After months of struggling to find their footing, it looks like the GOP has finally found an effective spokesman. Since Republican leaders unveiled the reanimated corpse of Ronald Reagan at a fundraising event last week, the undead former president has quickly emerged as the new face of the Republican Party. Since Reagan was brought back from the grave by GOP leaders in a top-secret $2.2 million reanimation project, poll data shows Reagan with a higher favorability rating than all other high-profile Republicans combined.
The voters know Reagan. They trust Reagan. When he moans at them, they're going to listen.
There's questions as to whether he still has capacity for thought, and he does eat people. But big picture, he's the best option they have right now.
And appeared in a series of GOP ads promoting the Republican Party's traditional values.
Congress and the president say they're trying to help fix our country's economy. Ronald Reagan and the Republican Party have the right idea for America's future.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. Welcome back, everybody.
Nobody asked.
Welcome back, nobody. Welcome back, Ian. These are the cohorts, the co-hosts of the evening.
Did you say cohorts?
Cohorts.
Oh, okay.
H-O-R-T-S.
Okay.
Not co-W-H-O-R-E-S. It's a slight difference in spelling and enunciation.
It's true.
If you would like to call in and comment on our program this evening, the toll-free number is 855-450-3733. Grab a crayon, write that down on the fridge, 855-450-3733. And we were discussing this article that nobody brought in, and it relates to nobody's idea of uniting militias as an anti-racism defense.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I think not just anti-racism, though, also anti-riot, anti-looting. Because the thing is, it doesn't benefit. The one thing that Fruitcake said on the line, the guy who called in earlier, that, you know, it was absolutely on point, is this is not helping the cause. Because what happened is, and I watched it in the libertarian community where, you know, at first when they burned down the police station, a lot of us were like, yeah, check it out. And then they go and they burn down, you know, an AutoZone, right. And it's like, and there's no more to be said on this. And people said, "Ooh, that's not so good." And then some small businesses burned, and people were like, "Oh God, that's awful." And so sympathy was lost for the movement. Now, I think that's intentional because I think that this is all part of yet another attempt to start Helter Skelter.
What is that?
Helter Skelter was Charles Manson's idea to start a race war.
Oh, I thought it was the song by Motley Crue.
It is also a song by Motley Crue, which was in turn based on, I believe,
wasn't there a Beatles song?
Charles Manson. It's named after a Beatles song, and that is because Charles Manson was obsessed with the White Album, specifically. And the other interesting thing is there seems to be some evidence that Charles Manson was a product of MK Ultra,
which is a government mind control thing.
Yeah, it's a now acknowledged CIA mind control using psychedelic drugs and other things.
So what did he want to happen with
manipulate
this
people.
Helter Skelter?
He wanted there to be a war between black people and white people, and he wanted the new the new future to grow out of that. Now, that's really interesting because that's about the same time that G. Edward Griffin was giving his speech that I covered on Nobody Tells the Truth, where and I talked a little bit about here, where he's talking about the plan being race war and a series of fires.
Yeah.
And so it all seems to be coming together. And one thing, at the end of the last segment, I quoted somebody from the Minneapolis Office of Violence Prevention as saying it's important that men from the community stand up for the community. It's their right to be out in the streets, and it's commendable. But we said something about police response to this sort of thing after that, and there's actually more information about police response, which is that a spokesman for the Minneapolis Police Department declined repeated requests for comment. But at a summer,
not responding is still a response.
Yes, it's true. And it goes on to say, at a summer Freedom Fighters event, a patrol officer stopped and posed for selfies with members of the group during a 30-minute visit. So this is not necessarily like when I've talked to people from BLM. This is not the response that they expected to see to armed black people. I'm very pleased by that.
Real quick, I just want to point out to our listeners the absurdity of government-named entities. The Minneapolis Office of Violence Prevention, if they did what their name insinuates they do, they would be an anti-government organization.
Exactly, because they would have to prevent the extortion, which is implicit in taxation. You know, if your security company issues threats when you refuse to buy their service, they're not a security company. They're a mafia.
Exactly. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Go on.
No, that's good. Leslie Richmond, president of Minneapolis National Association for the Advancement of Colored People, said she is happy the men are armed and wants them to grow as community leaders. These brothers were there from the beginning when threats were being made by white supremacists, not just white supremacists. She said, there is no doubt they stepped up for the community. Tyler and other members view the group as a way to provide safety for peaceful protesters, but they also understand that black men armed with legally registered guns are viewed differently by many in law enforcement and other parts of society than, say, white militia members who stormed state capitals. Yeah, they have to go into some anti-gun stuff, waving their firearms without repercussions. Waving them, were they? Like flags.
I doubt that.
Yeah, I doubt that too. These guys tend to be pretty good about muzzle control and trigger control, and if they're not, they keep themselves in. They keep each other in line. Nonetheless, he said, we are like any other American. We have the right to keep and bear arms, and that is so true. In Dred Scott, the decision that affirmed that black people did not have civil rights in the United States. This is, of course, before the end of slavery. One of the reasons that they gave for their decision, which is not really a reason, it's a consequence that they fear, he said, the justice wrote, black people would be able to carry firearms wherever they went if they had full human rights. So, which is interesting in light of the fact that we don't seem to have that right.
Yeah, no, I'm with you.
But anyway.
Well, now no one has human rights.
Yes, I do not have human rights, certainly.
At least according to the governments out there. I mean, we all believe in the idea,
I
but
have
they don't.
human rights. It's just the government has pledged not to respect my human rights because I'm too dangerous after having owned marijuana and sold it to somebody else.
Well, you didn't have that many of them before that either.
Well, I didn't have as many as the Constitution specified. I mean, it's like I tell people, the Constitution isn't perfect, but it is a lot better than what we've got now. Okay. Ramil Taylor, a member of the Minnesota Freedom Fighters, carries a legally registered handgun. You should not have to register your handgun. Months after... I'm sorry, that was again a picture caption. I'm going to fix this next time. Months after Floyd was killed in Minneapolis police custody, as national unrest over police brutality toward black people has mixed with partisan politics, deadly incidents have occurred in Kenosha, Wisconsin, and Portland, Oregon, involving armed, self-styled civilian security operatives. In one case, it was just somebody stepping out and assassinating one of these armed self-styled civilian security operatives. In Kenosha, Kyle Rittenhouse, a white Illinois teenager who they say traveled across state lines with a military-style rifle. Actually, according to him, he got the rifle in Wisconsin, is accused of killing 2 white men who were protesting the police shooting of Jacob Blake, a black man who was struck several times in the back during arrest. And more notably than that, the story gets kind of bad here, so I'm going to fill in some facts from my own knowledge. Yes, they were perhaps out there to protest, but what they were doing when they got shot is trying to lynch Kyle Rittenhouse. So you do have the right to shoot your lynch mob. Rittenhouse was arrested later on homicide charges. His attorneys argued the 17-year-old was acting in self-defense. Near Portland, meanwhile, I hear music.
You do. We are near the end of the segment. 855-450-3733. We'll have more Free Talk Live for you coming right up.
Moose is the German Shepherd and hasn't had any kind of health problems at all. He has been on Dinovite since he's a puppy. DINOVITE.com. We tell anybody that has a dog, if there was something that you could do right from the beginning so that you don't have expensive veterinary bills, why would you not do it? Get the Dinovite.
Dinovite for life. You get some Dinovite, how happy your dog will be.
DINOVITE.com.
Divvy's been a pretty good investment for Free Talk Live. Their ad campaign started in September 2019, and from mid-March to mid-July, the values soared by 10 times. It's not too late. Divvy's new wallet hasn't even released yet, and other things are happening that I can't even say on the radio. If you want to invest and potentially do well, go to divvyproject.org. I can tell you that FTL is deepening its partnership with the guys from divvyproject.org. Past performance is not an indication of future profit. divvyproject.org. DIVI project.org.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
Some of our live shows are streamed in HD on Twitch. Please follow and share at twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
Yes, it's Free Talk Live. Welcome back, everybody. Our toll-free number here, if you need it, is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. With you tonight, it's myself, the Captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
And I wanted to tell you that you can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge, which means more fun. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those can be found on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021, and we'll see you at forkfest.party.
Party!
Yes. Well, hopefully we won't have to be fighting for our right to party, but it seems like we already must do so.
Well, I mean, we may have to because, Dee Snider has already decided that he is going to take it after all.
I'm so disappointed because one of the most rebellious things I remember ever seeing as a kid growing up was Dee Snider in front of the congressional hearings defending music from the entity known as the PMRC and basically just verbally letting the politicians have it with
and brilliantly, much more intelligent than I expected.
Absolutely. And it's one of my most fond memories of, a heavy metal persona, sort of taking on the man.
Now he's just a wuss.
And now apparently all the money has gone, to his head, and he's no longer rebellious because he's a wealthy man.
They literally have a photo. He posted a picture or a piece of artwork of himself on his own Twitter, where I believe he's made up as Uncle Sam, and he's got like a mask on his face.
Wow. See, I like to think that they actually...
I'm not kidding.
I'm going to believe it will become a matter of faith in my church that he was actually assassinated and replaced with a duplicate. So that's not the real Dee Snider.
I think that's what happened with Mark.
Dee Snider, no matter where he is not taking it. And if you see a man taking it, that's not Dee Snider.
I think they replaced Mark at some point recently, too.
There is, however, somebody, a musician, that appears to not be wanting to take it.
Don't take it!
And that man's name is Van Morrison.
Yeah, right.
We recently covered Van Morrison here on this particular program, calling other musicians to get together to protest the COVID lockdowns that the governments have been taking full advantage of. And so now he's
that'll probably go much better than COVID aid.
Right.
They got a whole bunch of singers together to try and do like a "We Are the World," but they were all wearing masks, so it just came out.
So this from the rollingstone.com, or rollingstone.com, that is. Van Morrison to release protest songs against COVID-19 lockdown. Northern Ireland health minister says new songs are dangerous.
Quick, somebody panic.
Now I really want to hear them.
New songs are dangerous.
I like dangerous.
I mean, sorry, before I even get into the article,
dangerous.
How is a song dangerous?
Well, I mean,
how does a song present any danger to anybody?
The politicians would argue that
could drive you to suicide. Did you ever hear the
not unless you were suicidal
thing
right.
that
not
Trump
unless you were already
you
suicidal.
Have to already be
you haven't heard this song then?
Over there, send the boys over there.
No. It's the one that they did for Trump.
I don't know what that is. Is it related to original
Trump just existing is enough to make some people suicidal, I guess. But
I think so.
But when it comes to art, there's no dangerous art.
Well, what they believe is, look, this has been argued before. Go back to the 1990s where Tipper Gore and whoever her little buddies were with the whole
Back to Dee Snider.
Right, with the whole ratings coalition, where they kept arguing that these songs were dangerous and they could contribute to a decline in the youth of America, etc., etc.
Dogs and cats living together, fire and brimstone falling from the sky.
Well, I mean, the idea being that media is going to have some sort of an influence on its listeners, and it will create people who are bad that weren't bad before, and Satanism, and all kinds of allegations.
I guess in one way,
maybe that's how Arya got her job.
I guess in one way, protest songs such as the ones Van Morrison is putting together that go against the official narrative could be dangerous to the official narrative.
That's exactly what they mean.
Yeah. Yes. Well, music can be very dangerous if you happen to be a status quo.
Well, if you use music to introduce new ideas to people, then I mean that can be a danger to a status quo for sure.
So this article was written by Claire Schaefer.
But as far as whether as far as whether music can actually shift a generation or anything like that, the argument is chicken or the egg. Is it the people who are being influenced by the music, or is the music being influenced by the spirit
art
of the times?
Imitates life, imitates art, imitates life, imitates art, imitates life.
Yeah.
I would say it's got to be a perfect storm, a confluence of events where the people and the music have to be ready.
Van Morrison accuses the UK government of, quote, taking our freedom, unquote, in 3 new songs bashing the worldwide lockdown to prevent the spread of COVID-19. In the song No More Lockdown, the most on the nose of the 3 tracks, Morrison plainly lays out his thoughts. No more lockdown, no more government overreach, no more fascist bullies disturbing our peace, no more taking of our freedom and our God-given rights, pretending it's for our safety when it's really to enslave.
That's some lyrics right there from the song. I'm looking forward to hearing that.
I just want to let that sit into our listeners' ears for a minute.
Mm-hmm.
In another song, according to the BBC, Morrison references a widely shared Facebook post of a screenshot from the UK government's website stating that COVID-19 is no longer considered to be a high-consequence infectious disease, or an HCID.
Wow, isn't that interesting? Low consequences, still mandatory face masks.
And other, lockdown type of measures that are also mandatory. While it is true that COVID-19 currently does not meet the criteria for an HCID in the UK, it is still highly infectious the world over. This is the Rolling Stone author talking.
Are they saying that the disease is different in the UK than it is in other places?
That seems to be what they're alluding to, yes.
That's very strange.
I find that strange as well. With a possibility of a second national lockdown in the UK on the horizon, according to BBC. Northern Ireland's Health Minister Robin Swan has referred to the new trio of Morrison songs as dangerous. I don't know where he gets his facts. I know where the emotions are on this, but I will say that sort of messaging is dangerous.
But I'll find where he gets his facts and shut them down.
855-450 free. We've got more Free Talk Live for you coming up.
News from news.bitcoin.com. Despite years of warnings about cryptocurrency, criminals prefer U.S. dollars for money laundering, study shows. Jim Rogers predicts end of U.S. dollar dominance. Macro strategist Raul Paul says Bitcoin beats gold in every way. New crypto, sushi, plummets around rumors of exit scam. Bitcoin.com is your source for getting started with cryptocurrencies, getting a wallet, buying Bitcoin Cash, mining, And all the latest cryptocurrency news at news.bitcoin.com.
Every year, over 1 million fires burn in America. Fortunately, firefighters are on the job, saving life and property, and you can be a part of it. 7 out of 10 firefighters and emergency responders are volunteers. There's no typical firefighter. Anyone can volunteer to serve their community. Volunteering as a first responder is really about having the heart and drive to make a difference where it's needed most. Your community needs you. Are you ready to answer the call? Learn more and find local volunteer opportunities at makemeafirefighter.org.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with agristhosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to agristhosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org.
Love what we do? Please help support our international satellite channels at patreon.lrn.fm. That's patreon.lrn.fm.
Welcome back, everybody. It is Free Talk Live. This is the Monday night edition. I am your host this evening, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me in the studio, it's
Ian.
And Rod Serling, a man with no upper lip.
Our toll-free number here is 855-450-3733. That's 855-450-FREE, as in freedom. We've been talking about Van Morrison. He's in the news again, and actually he's been covered by Rolling Stone. He's writing some new protest songs that are specifically against government overreaction to COVID-19. That is the lockdowns, the masks, and all that kind of thing. He has previously called for other artists to join him in protesting these things, and so now he has written apparently an EP, 3 songs, which are rather poignant to the topics. In another one of the songs, according to BBC, Morrison references a widely shared Facebook post of a screenshot from the UK government website stating that COVID is no longer considered to be a high-consequence infectious disease. And in addition, Northern Ireland's Health Minister Robin Swan has referred to the new trio of songs as dangerous. Now, me being an artist, I mean, perhaps ideas can be dangerous, but the songs, I mean, I've never been attacked by a song. I've never had a song, run out in front of my car. I've never had a song pick up a gun and, threaten to do me harm or throw me in a cage.
Like, snap a CD in half and, poke at you with it. That could be kind of annoying.
Yeah, but that's not the song itself. That's just the media that it was printed in or on or whatever have you. So it's my opinion that that art in and of itself is not dangerous.
Well, this is where historically book bans have come from. We can't have the children reading Catcher in the Rye or whatever. You fill in the more recent book bannings and burnings and such.
So real quickly, just because this article did appear in the Rolling Stone, I went over to Van Morrison's official website where he does have a news section.
And you know what? Just before you go on with that, isn't the whole idea of Facebook and Twitter banning certain information, how they've been saying to people who post an opinion that's contrary to the government perspective on COVID?
Yes.
And they'll either ban that person entirely or ban that post, and then they'll say, you have to post appropriate to whatever the government rules are or whatever the government's official line is. Isn't that kind of like a new version of a book burning? I mean, it's not as fiery, right? It's not going to generate as much heat and as much notice, but it certainly is the banning of ideas in a way.
From their platform,
yes. If Facebook came and set your computer on fire, you would notice that.
Yeah.
But yeah, it is absolutely, and it's a way of controlling and manipulating public opinion that the government could not do directly.
Right, legally.
Because the First Amendment would forbid it, but there's a wide belief actually. There's a project that was done at, I believe, the NSA to develop a system very similar to Facebook, and it was canceled, interestingly enough, the day that Facebook was released, which is pretty interesting. I try not to be a conspiracy theorist, but when they just jump out at me, I have to mention them.
Yeah, and people will point out, technically Facebook is a privately owned entity and it can do whatever it wants, which is true, but effectively it is a public entity and it does censor speech. And it's free to do so, of course, because of its private status. But from VanMorrison.com, Van Morrison himself says he's releasing 3 new tracks in response to the ongoing UK government lockdown restrictions. Born to be Free, As I Walked Out, and No More Lockdown are 3 songs of protest which question the measures the government has put in place. Morrison makes it clear in his new songs how unhappy he is with the way the government has taken away personal freedoms. Morrison says, and I quote, "I'm not telling people what to do or think. The government is doing a great job of that already. It's about freedom of choice. I believe people should have the right to think for themselves," unquote.
Our job is to report the news, not to synthesize it. That's the government's job.
Right. The singer-songwriter, who is campaigning for performance venues to open at full capacity again, feels strongly that lockdown is in danger of killing live music. I mean, it did. It already has.
Yeah.
It's not quite dead.
No, not quite, but it'll come back at some point.
It's feeling better.
Without a date for reopening fully in 2020, many venues will shut down for good.
I didn't mean to create a storm of bad British accent,
but you did. But you did.
But you did.
But no, he makes a good point. All of the live music venues that used to have touring acts of any kind, theater of any kind, comedians of any kind, the close-knit ones, the small ones.
Can you imagine trying to watch like a theater show from one of these drive-in shows?
No, absolutely not. It would be a horrendous experience.
Yeah.
And without a date for reopening, many of these venues will shut down for good.
Yeah.
I keep seeing on my social media, because I'm still in contact with several people, musically. There is a whole bunch of people who are employed in the music industry that cannot work.
Oh, yeah, they're not employed right now.
Stage hands, right? Sound guys, right? Lighting people.
Being on furlough is a pretty far distance from an actual employment.
Right. And they've taken to doing things like starting their own, GoFundMe or Kickstarter type things to help them remain financially viable until said time that venues reopen again and they can go back to their careers.
See, I'd be looking for a piece of warehouse space that I could rent, because there's a lot of empty commercial space out there, and people would go just about anywhere to
the thing is, you
piss drunk while listening to live music and not be hassled.
The challenge, though, is that the venue or the owner of the building that you're renting from would have to be on board. Otherwise, most of them are just going to cower and buckle as soon as the government comes knocking.
Yeah,
and they'll violate your lease and get away with it.
The way I thought of it would be to say, "Oh yeah, I need this for band practice. We might have some friends watch us."
That would be helpful, I guess.
Van Morrison is releasing all three of these songs 1 week apart from each other, starting this Friday, September 25th.
That's smart, by the way, doing it staggered release like that. Get the buzz going.
The 3 tracks will be available for download and streaming only from select outlets. Born to Be Free will be released on Friday, September 25th. As I Walked Out will be released on Friday, October 9th, and No More Lockdown is released on Friday, October 23rd.
I'm marking my calendar. You said Friday the 25th for the first one, right?
Correct. And then
every
it
2
looks
weeks
like every
after that.
Live music was banned completely when the lockdown was imposed in March. It has been possible for indoor live music performances to take place with socially distanced audiences since August 1st, but very few gigs have taken place in the UK, and most venues remain shut. I say that's true probably the world over.
Yeah.
Specifically here in the United States as well. Morrison will debut the new tracks later this month at his upcoming shows in the London Palladium.
Even if they were legally allowed to open, there's some places where some people are so cowardly they won't even go out.
But, of course, in a large area, though, you don't need 100% of the people or even 10% of the people to be ready to go out before you fill your venue, because I would be much more open to going to going to a concert of, I would go to a country concert.
Music you would normally listen to. You would normally not listen to.
Yeah, I would go to a country concert just to see somebody perform.
Just to go, right? Yeah. Yeah, I don't care how twangy it sounds. It would be fun to just go and, have that experience again that has been literally yanked out from under us.
They just tear away hunks of our life and expect us to just tolerate.
The worst part of that is you might actually start to like it.
Well, and the part about that is disturbing to me is I have a whole bunch of musical friends back on the West Coast, and many of them are just like, well, we just have to wait.
Hunker down.
Hunker down.
That's not rock and roll.
Says.
That's not how any of this works.
855-450-3733. We'll take your calls and your thoughts. We have more Free Talk Live coming up.
Man, that's so plastic.
Indeed.
What if you could cut your heating bills this winter with your existing wood-burning fireplace and not spend thousands doing it? You can with Great Wall of Fire fireplace grates. Our U.S. patented made-in-America Wall of Fire grates increase fireplace efficiency, eliminate fireplace smoke problems, and come with a 30-day money-back guarantee. See our grates in action and get free shipping from walloffire.com or call 800-274-7364. Fireplace heat without fireplace smoke. walloffire.com.
Attention radio listeners, if you're concerned about the coming chaos after the November elections, this will be an extremely important message. Here's why. No matter what the outcome in November, catastrophic social upheaval is a very real possibility. Here's why this is important. Listen, we all know that silver and gold have been historic hedges against the uncertain waves of social chaos and unstable currencies. But did you know that there's been times in the past during times of extreme hardship, when Americans put another store of value above even silver and gold? It's true, open pollinated seeds have been and could very value in the coming hard times ahead. Go to survivalseedbank.com to get heirloom seeds below wholesale. Visit survivalseedbank.com this week and get hundreds of dollars in free bonuses. Beat the coming chaos, beat rising food prices, but above all, don't wait. Beat the crowds by claiming your own Survival Seed Bank today.
With a MechTech carbine conversion unit, you can turn an XD family Glock or 1911 handgun into a carbine rifle in seconds and have it shipped right to your door, no FFL required. Now, MechTech is excited to announce our pistol carbine conversion unit. More compact with a 12-inch barrel and an arm brace, proving once again that MechTech is the world's most versatile handgun accessory. For a limited time, go to handgunconversions.com. That's handgunconversions.com and use coupon code RADIO to receive $35 off any carbine purchase.
Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
Now you can follow LRN.FM on the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm.
Entering the final segment of tonight's edition of Free Talk Live. We might have enough time. We've got a couple callers on hold. We'll get to your calls and your thoughts, but if you want to attempt to get on the air, our toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain.
It's Ian.
And nobody.
And I just want to take a minute to thank Cam Cakes. He is tonight's amplifier. If you don't know what an amplifier is, it's a person who donates a little bit of money every month to Free Talk Live in an effort to get us on more radio stations than we're currently on. We're currently somewhere around 190. We could be on 200, 220, 250. It's all up to you. You can find out more about the Amplifier program over at amp.freetalklive.com. We only ask for $5. You can donate more, of course. There's a couple different levels and some fun perks that go along with being an amplifier. Again, that's amp.freetalklive.com. And thank you so much, Cam Cakes, for being a platinum amplifier. We appreciate you.
I also want to thank another platinum, Derek, who we didn't get a chance to get everybody thanked this weekend, so didn't want to forget about him. Thank you, Derek.
Indeed. Yes, thank you too, Derek. Also a platinum amplifier.
Mm-hmm.
Well done. Good catch. I just real quick too. I know we've been talking about Van Morrison and some of that kind of thing.
Protest songs.
Yeah. I just wanted to say real quickly that Aria's campaign for sheriff has been getting some press.
Yeah,
so much press. I have been kind of lame on like helping that out. I've shared like one thing about her campaign, and a couple of conversations ensued about that. But she's been getting so much press that apparently the video that you edited up from our one gig that we did at Fort Fest,
your band,
it's been featured in a couple of heavy metal periodicals.
That's because what else are they going to feature?
Right, Metal Injection. I can't remember the other one, but both heavy metal magazines.
Now, to be fair, it's being featured sort of as an aside about Aria. Is like Aria's this metalhead, she's this rocker,
and she's also a she-male anarchist running for sheriff.
So what probably wouldn't have gotten featured if she hadn't been running for sheriff. But the fact is, you guys are one of the only real shows of any musical genre
that
happened
at all.
In that time frame.
So anyway, my point is that she's gotten so much press that people have seen this and they've watched the video and they've gone, I know that guy. It's Captain Kickass. And so I've gotten a couple of requests for her, like, hey, can you hook us up with, we want to do an interview. Can you,
with Aria.
And so I, pinged her like, hey, give me the info you want to give. And so I'm playing middleman right now.
Nice. Agent.
Postman or whatever you want to call it.
I guess
right?
we're both co-managers now. Welcome aboard.
Thanks, man.
All right.
So, but I mean, I found that pretty cool. I spent 22 years or so playing in bands in Seattle, and I don't think I ever got featured or even mentioned for anything in like a national or international magazine for anything.
It took COVID.
Now you can help
takes
with the
COVID
campaign.
it takes COVID and Aria to have something written up about her, and you doing the one video from the one show that we did, right?
Yeah.
And people go, I know that guy.
Yeah.
Right. So So vote for Aria if you're going to vote. That's really all I'm saying. If you're in New Hampshire and you're voting in the election.
Or you can vote for nobody. Anywhere you are, nobody will accept your write-in votes.
At any time.
But it's too late.
We can't hear you if you're
But it's too late.
There you go.
But
all right,
yes, you can do it.
As promised, let's go to your calls and your thoughts. Roger calling from New London, Connecticut. You're on Free Talk Live. Roger?
Hey, I know New London. That's the town where they refuse to allow any cops that have over, 120 IQ? I think that's
Roger
what the
going
number
once.
is there.
Roger.
I heard something. It sounded like somebody was
I heard.
handling their phone. Oh, well.
Roger going twice.
What's your vector, Victor?
All right, we'll put him on hold. Let's move on then, and let's go to David in New Mexico. David, you're on Free Talk Live.
Middleman, Captain Kickass. That's apropos.
Did you say Captain Kickass?
He did, yeah. Thank you very little, David. Thank you very little. It was ungratefully depreciated.
You're welcome. Very little. It's all in fun. I only tease you because you can take. I only tease people that I approve of.
Hey, I'm not going to take it.
I don't wait. Huh?
Unlike D. Snyder.
You're not going to take it. You're not going to take it. What? Say it again.
Yeah, unlike D. Snyder, I am not going to take it. Where apparently he is. Yes.
There you go.
What's on your mind, David?
Not much, but this secession. So a couple questions on secession. Yeah. So our government is scum.
Yes.
And if you work in our government, you are scum. And the reason you're scum is because notwithstanding whatever amount of scum the people that created this country were, they were a lot less scum than you are now. They actually created something that was pretty decent, and I bet the people living immediately after the Revolutionary War felt pretty good about it and pretty free. And then
except for the slaves.
Yeah, except for the slaves
and the Indians.
And then it just and the Indians.
Right.
But there's more to be said about that, but I don't want to get sidetracked on that now. But then it just deteriorated from there till what we got now. And the reason it deteriorated is because all the scum, sons of bitches, they learned how to game the system. It's like Vegas. They learned how to fix the game.
Yeah.
So they could go into the casino called America and cheat and take it for themselves and not get caught for the most part.
Yep.
And so you all suck and you're all scum and I see what you're doing. Most of America doesn't see what you're doing, but I see what you're doing. So
and
now
it's easy to do. All you have to do is control 2 nomination processes, and you don't have to care about which party wins.
Well, and they are scum, and that includes the bureaucrats and the politicians at the state level. But of course, they are scum that is actually within physical reach generally, unlike the scum in Washington, D.C., which is completely disconnected from any kind of physical consequence, meaning that if we want to go down to the governor's house here in New Hampshire and protest, basically right out in front of his house, we can do it. There's not any kind of barrier to that, from what I understand. He doesn't live in a gated neighborhood or anything like that. He's just probably down some long, windy New Hampshire path. So if that's something that we wanted to do, sadly it hasn't happened yet, because there's a fair amount of time. There's a fair amount of pushback by some parties against that. But if enough people wanted to do that, they could. On the other hand, you cannot do that at the White House. You cannot get close to the White House. You cannot, be seen easily from the people that are cloistered up in there necessarily. So
yeah, federal officials tend to be too far away to be easily tarred or feathered.
Yeah,
tarred.
But I would take exception to one thing. It wasn't pushback that prevented me from going to the governor's house. We just never got to the level of participation.
Well, I'm just saying there is some pushback. I wasn't saying you personally. I wasn't saying you personally had pushback. I'm just saying
that's not what it prevented.
The idea has come up again. Nobody. It has come up again in a group that you aren't a part of, and there are people pushing back against.
Nobody can stop an idea whose time has come.
Can I? Where's the idea?
Go ahead, David.
Back to the observation is that because we've become where we're at now, this system, and unless major changes are made, which are always threatened and never happen, it's only going to get worse. And so that means, by definition, that the system has to go because it's been fatally tainted, so it has to go. We're back at the beginning. The people that created this country, they even put it into the Declaration of Independence. Hey, they wrote right in there. Hey, when the S hits the fan again, then you have another revolution. It says it right in the Declaration of Independence. Throw that MFer government off when they become tyrants, and they're way beyond tyrants now. So it's either time to throw them off. Well, actually, it is time to throw them off. But your alternative is secession. And so I had a couple questions on that.
Okay.
And that is, secession would be great with a couple of exceptions, because anytime that you alter the status quo, then some unforeseen.
If you've got two questions, you're barely going to get to the first one at this rate. So you might want to get it out there.
So the first one is, what are you going to do when, for instance, the Chinese attack the United States by buying up everything from the Democrat states and infiltrating them and then threatening them and then physically taking over them and then starting a war with the rest of us?
Be very, very surprised if it actually happens, is what we're going to do.
Yep.
Now, why are you so certain it won't happen?
I'm not certain it won't happen. I'll just be very, very surprised if it does.
I see.
And if I was Chinese, that would be my plan. I'd be sitting here watching you, in all my wargaming stuff. I would be like, hey, there's some people that want secession. Yeah, do it. And you guys do the secession thing.
David, when the USSR, or the Soviet Socialist, when they broke up, right, the fall of the Soviet Union, did anybody attack them?
No,
they just broke up into smaller states. They just broke up into smaller states.
China would rather sell stuff to us, I think, than militarily dominate this landmass.
Yeah. Hey, thank you for the call tonight, David. We do appreciate it.
Also, there would be a rifle behind every blade of grass, as the Japanese
at least in New Hampshire. Probably not California. They could probably take California pretty quick.
Yeah, but who cares? Right. Let them have it.
Right. That's all the time we have. Join us 7 nights a week. freetalklive.com for the archives. Thank you, everybody. See ya.
Remember when you first heard about Bitcoin? How long did it take you to realize this little project would soon change the world? Do you kind of wish you had